The One Piece! The One Piece is real!
Can we get much higher? So high.
Did I do that right?
Yeah, it was great. So it is a
dope.
great day here at KEKCast, your true #1 One Piece trading card game podcast. And before I jump into anything, I wanted to tier zero meta, tier zero podcast. KEKCast is in the introduction, right? Basically, I first want to say that we're sponsored by Loser Dawn. It's just Proxy Dawn, but instead of saying winner, it says loser. Order some for your locals because we know when you're listening to this podcast, you're going to be at the top tables and you need to hand out those losses, okay?
Remember, guys, if you're not a winner, you're a loser.
Dang. Well, that's harsh. Joining me today is a returning guest, Saucy. How are you doing today, Saucy?
I'm good, bro. Chilling like a villain, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for asking. And I have a new guest. The star of the show today will be Adrian from Pang Pirates.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the podcast.
Let's go Pig Pirates, baby.
I will say this podcast will most likely just be about you today, but we're going to go definitely into a lot of things that happened this week. Have you listened to the podcast yet? Like anything?
Yeah. I actually watched the last 2 episodes when you sent it.
Oh.
They're super entertaining. They're like really good to watch when I'm like doing chores and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
that's what our podcast's for, right?
Yeah, I mean it's dope. It's dope.
Great. I'm really glad to hear that we got a listener on here, and maybe you too in the comment section can be a listener and a voice on the show. So leave a comment down in the comments.
Smash that sub button, y'all.
Who should I get next? I think I have Cross. He's scheduled at some point to come on as well, right?
I think we need Saucy next.
Yeah, Saucy. I like having a third person, and you're usually my go-to third person. But
happy to be here. I love meeting content creators. It's awesome. You know, pick people's brains.
I have a kind of a soft spot toward people who play Doflamingo as well, right?
So, yeah, 100%.
Pang, you're a Dofi player?
So I started off mainly as a Doflamingo player. I haven't played it recently. Because I mean, like, I have Alan at my locals, and he just plays Kid every week. So then, like, it's like 8-cost Bunker Kid. So I'm like, I'll go 2-0 and then face Alan, and I'm like, okay, well, I lost again.
Really?
I thought the common build nowadays, or recently, has been like the Film Kid. He's not running the Film Kid.
No, I don't think so.
People still run Blocker Kid.
Yeah.
If they're really good, it's really hard for them to lose that matchup. I've beat some of my locals, but like they would make a mistake and accidentally, or not even accidentally, they would use a Punk Gibson from Life. I'm like, why are you doing that? Keep that in your hand.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I mean, I'll be honest. I've probably played like 100+ games of Doflamingo, and after that many games, you just realize you just can't beat Kid, man. If they play it right. There's no way you're gonna win that game.
Yeah,
it's so rough because then I play it a lot in my head, and I'm like, okay, well, I could not swing, or I can, do this, and that. But then everything eventually comes to like, okay, well, he's just gonna attack me at my life anyway, and then I'm gonna lose eventually.
And I'm gonna die. It's like, just give me more time for double attacking and stacking his hand.
Yeah, so it's just like at some point it's just like you really can't deal with it. Like,
dude, it's so funny you say that because I played there's this one case tournament I played at, and it was a manga Shanks tournament, and I was top 16. I played against this dude that his name is Kyle. He was playing Kid at the time, and I was thinking like, I'm gonna just not attack. Wonder what happens. I'm gonna stall him out and wait for him to tap out, and then I could kill all of his dudes. You know what he does after I pass?
Mm-hmm.
He just passes too. I'm like, fuck, man, we can literally just sit here and do nothing then. We're just gonna keep passing. I'm like, all right, fuck it.
Or even worse, like they swing 5, and it's like, okay, well, I could either take life or give him a card out of my hand. And either way, it's bad. Like, so it's like, what am I gonna do?
I hate it. I'm just sitting there looking at my cards for like 5 minutes, just thinking the plays in my head. I'm like, there's really nothing I can do.
Yeah,
I'm just screwed. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
tough.
Waiting for set 4. The set 4 waiting.
Yeah, waiting for set 4 for sure.
For Red Rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just pray to God next format doesn't have a lot of green. I don't think it does.
It
though,
doesn't.
Right?
It'll probably still have
Mm.
Film Kid because it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. But like I hope no one plays Stonewall Kid because you're dealing with Marcos now, right? So
Yeah, I think it's too much. I think it's too much for Stonewall Kid to get through with like the Fire Fist and Flame Emperors running around.
It's a bit too fast for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also.
yeah.
Man.
But
It's rough.
before we jump into anything real One Piece, I'd like to get to know Pang or Adrian, right?
Yeah.
And we'll ask you some questions, I guess, like before card games or what you're doing now. Do you play like any video games at all?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think growing up, my first console was like a GameCube, and then I was like console gamer until I was old enough to buy like a PC, and then I'm just like PC gaming and everything.
Yeah. Just so people reference so they can relate. How old are you now?
I'm 24 now.
24.
Yeah.
Okay. And
so yeah,
GameCube,
it was.
what do you play on PC now?
I used to play like competitive games, but they're just so stressful, like Overwatch, Valorant. And then, but I think lately I've just been playing like ARAMs on League.
Hell yeah, let's go. I was waiting for you to say League, bro. I'm like, that's my game.
Just like random one-off games too. Like I play a lot of Slay the Spire, which it's like a roguelike card game.
Okay.
Got like a ton of hours on that. It's just like a bunch of random games here and there, usually roguelikes.
Yeah. Saucy and I, we did like a whole section on League in one of our podcasts. We talked about that. He was like Platinum 1. I was hard stuck Diamond 5 doing local competitive stuff.
Oh,
right?
that dude.
And I it's just like everyone does. They'll quit League, but I'm glad it's not one of those games where it's not really quitting. You're just taking a break. Right?
Hey, you can always come back.
I've straight up quit League before, right? So
I bet you're probably like iron level now, though. You don't play that.
No, I'm still good. It's like riding a bike, right?
No,
I think
so. It's like a lot of it's
it's
so much stuff changes. Like it's pretty crazy. But I think you are right. Like I think maybe probably like platinum or gold.
I play. Well, yeah, probably at least
maybe gold.
Maybe yeah. I'm not gonna put the work in anymore. That's for sure. Yeah, but that was like back in the heyday of League, where it was like season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh yeah,
maybe 7.
That was my life for like freaking 7-10 years, man. That was like my only hobby. So
yeah, my main game for the past 4 years has been World of Warcraft Classic, and I stopped playing that. I stopped playing other games for that, and then I stopped playing WoW a bit to play One Piece. I still play WoW every once a week. I raid log, right? But I don't know if you guys did any like WoW at all, World of Warcraft.
I'm not a WoW guy. I did like some anime MMOs before. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I was just saying, like, the only connection I have with WoW is like Hearthstone.
Yeah.
I
never even played Hearthstone. That's the funny thing too. I really like the WoW universe. Yeah. I don't know what it was. I think I was too big into League at the time. And I just didn't care about anything else, and I wasn't too big into card games either. So, and I wanted to ask about what's your card game experience at all before One Piece?
So yeah, growing up, I think I had like a pretty basic pipeline. It was like Pokemon, played some Yu-Gi-Oh growing up, and then I think like 2018 was when I started playing. Or actually 2016, I started playing like competitive Pokemon. Like started going to a lot more tournaments because then Worlds was going to be in San Francisco. So it was like, and I'm like San Francisco native. So I went pretty hard in 2016.
San Fran, that was way back when.
Yeah, that was
in San Fran.
Yeah, that was back when I think the format was like still a lot of like it was like a lot of Garbotoxin. Format.
Oh god, I hated
really bad format to be competitive in.
The worst, dude.
Yeah. And then I think I played Darkrai back in the day. Like that's the deck I was rolling with. But yeah, like so I did that for a bit. And I never really found like a good card game to get into after that. Like I played Yu-Gi-Oh like around 2018 time. Me and my friends got into Yu-Gi-Oh. And then I played Hearthstone for a pretty long time. But I don't know, like Hearthstone, it's not like there's no like super competitive scene. You kind of just like hit legend and then like you just kind of like mess around with any deck. Like that's pretty much it. So it's like there's no competitive scene. And then yeah, we found One Piece at AX last year, and that was like that was a really good time.
So at AX, what month was that?
That was like in I think it's the first few days of July, and they just had like so many ads for it. It was literally like Bandai had a booth like right in front of the entrance, and then like it was just had this like huge flat screen, and then like half of the ads were just One Piece card game stuff.
Wow.
And they had like the demos and everything. They were actually passing out packs, and those packs ended up selling for like $20, and you could just like me and my friends were just we were just cycling like throughout that. It's like there was
Wait, you were what do you mean? You would just go back in line and get another pack?
Yeah, because then they were just handing them out. So then we would just circle back. Yeah,
I was there
and take another one.
Bro, I feel you. I went over there, grabbed the card, then I took my girl back. I'm like, she needs the card.
Just grab another one because they don't check. They don't see anything.
I'm confused. What kind of packs were they?
They're the packs. They were the packs to the they include like the 6-cost Rush Luffy. They had like the double attack kid.
Okay, so those promotional packs. I know the one you're talking about.
They those were the packs that
had like
they
Block
passed out.
Croc. Okay.
Yeah, Blocker Croc.
Okay.
And then the Banished Kaido, I think it is. But yeah, they were just passing those out. And they were passing them out in the panels too. I was like, how many of these are we gonna get?
Yeah, they have like a full bit of them. Just like we need to get rid of these. And there's for people. That's so funny.
Like they just had bags full of them. It was crazy.
Did you do any? So that's how you found One Piece card game. Did you watch the anime before? Like,
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
To tell you our thing, I've watched like 300 episodes of the anime so far, but I didn't start until I started playing the card game. And
I think that's a lot of people.
Saucy's like nowhere
That's
near.
when I started.
Yeah,
5 days ago.
He hasn't even. I think he's past Usopp. You know, they just got the Going Merry.
That's 30, bro. I'm like, when does it get good? Okay, I'm not gonna lie though. I've almost cried twice. Already,
for sure.
And we're like 30 episodes in, so I don't know, bro. I don't know. I'm just hanging in there.
I think the anime it's a little rough in the beginning, actually.
Yeah,
but then if you read it, it's really good. I mainly read it. That's how I got through it.
I mainly had a hard time during Skypiea arc. I'd be like one episode a week, and I'm like, why is this so slow for me?
Yeah, my friend's in Skypiea right now.
You, man, I don't think it's just you because another friend of mine said the same thing.
I think there's a meme like I saw on Twitter. It's like the Dark Souls meme, and it's like new One Piece fans, and like the big boss is like Skypiea arc. Like it's hard to get through, but once you get through it, it's really
there was an additional one I saw. It was One Piece, and then it was Sesame Street because they have like 7,000 episodes, right?
Yeah.
So
that's pretty funny, dude. Oh god, yeah. Nobody really realizes how many episodes Sesame Street had.
I don't want to think about
years.
Oh yeah, I remember that episode. That's so funny.
You remember episode 974? That was like the best.
That was such a broken set. Terrible meta. So you found One Piece through that. Did you find like did they tell you get the app, sign up for pre-release? Did you do any super pre-release in your area?
Yeah, so they did have like a tutorial app. I think it should still be on the App Store where like they give you like the structure deck and then you just like play against like their bot. And then they also had like a trial. They were running like trial decks. Okay. So then they would give you a trial deck, and it's funny because I have them in my white grid list right now. Yeah, it's red, green, Luffy, and all the cards are common, and like including the Sanjis. So like the Sanjis, they're supposed to be shiny, they're not in the trial deck, which is pretty funny.
I think that's so cool. Like, commons of rares.
Yeah, I was so surprised that there's like no one really cares about. Because that surprised me about One Piece is like no one really cares about like the errata versions or like like if they're a reprint or not or like first print or whatever. There's not a lot of people that care about that. So I was like, yeah, these Sanjis, what if they go for more because they're common? And it's like no one cares.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I did participate in the super pre-release. I think I was in 2, and I won the second one we went in.
Mhm.
because I saw everyone opening green, and I was like, okay,
Gotta play
well, if
blue.
everyone's opening green, I'm just gonna open up blue. and then I was like debating it so much because I was like, do I think I really win this tournament with blue? I like never picked it up before that, so it was really funny.
Wow.
It was a weird metagame of
Yeah, I heard it
everyone
was like a
played
rock,
green
paper,
and you
scissors
played
meta.
blue.
Yeah.
Oh, nobody
Yeah.
played red. You
Well,
were like,
red, you would not have a chance of winning unless you opened a Sanji. Then your opponent would be in big trouble. But that was
And then
back
you
when
had
like nobody understood how to counter effectively at all. I'd place
yeah.
cards down. I'm like, I placed on like a
Yeah.
1/3 buggy. And I'm like, I'd rather just have this as a counter. What am I doing? Like,
Yeah, I think if you were to go back in time, blue is probably the best deck that you can play. It was just the most consistent, and it just like crapped on green, which was like really important.
that is so funny
That's
that you guys are
actu-
saying that. now.
Yeah.
if you were to go back in time, you would do purple. Purple is
Really?
actually, yeah, because green actually isn't too bad into purple, but purple can actually deal with green and cannot get touched by blue. The reason
Yeah,
is
that's true too.
you
It's
place
hard.
down like a queen and they just bounce it back to your hand. You're like, thanks, I'm gonna play it again.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like it was actually insane. And then purple realized their strategy was to never attack their leader until they had 2 big Kaidos on the board, and then they would
Yeah.
just use Kaido's skill and attack with all their Kaidos at the same time. It was that ended up being like the meta when people got at the end of the trial decks into like set 1.
Oh,
That's how that
Jeez.
went. It
Yeah.
was nuts. Red
I
had
never
no
went through
stay.
this, so I don't know
Yeah.
any of this.
Yeah.
It's so funny though. If you all just think back, like when the game first started,
Mhm.
it hasn't even been a year.
7
since
months,
it's
yeah.
been
Oh, yeah,
out.
for
It's
sure.
Literally, like I feel like this game just like changed my life. You know. in
Oh,
many ways.
100%.
Is
I
it 6 months today? It's June 2nd. So January.
Is it?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
so.
6 months
Actually,
today,
it's
yeah.
6 months today.
Yeah, the podcast comes out on a
Wow.
Monday, but we record this on a Friday.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I mean, they're having the anniversary. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but they're
1
having the
year.
anniversary tournament, like
In
which
December.
Oh,
is going to
really?
be interesting. Yeah,
Where did they announce a location yet or anything?
No,
about
it's
it
it's
all?
I think it's
your-
just at stores.
your locals have to sign up for it.
Yeah.
At my
Oh,
locals, they
okay.
said, "Oh, I'm going to sign up for this." I don't know
It's
what they're
not like a
getting.
big
Yeah.
event or something. Somewhere in a
No.
location. That would
Probably
sound
just like
like
play mats and
3
promos.
seconds.
That'd be awesome though.
Yeah, that would be cool though. That'd be really cool.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So pre-release, you did that. You won a Luffy card, which is great. I should have went harder on pre-release. I didn't. My brother had to drag me to one, right? Because he wanted to get all the extra trial decks.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he used me as a
Oh,
body.
so much, yeah.
to do that. And
I
then
mean, you
I'm
buy
like,
them for 15.
and
They're
then I'm
selling
like,
for
I
like
don't want
200.
to play another game. And then I'm like, well, I guess I'm crack addicted now. So I guess
Yeah.
I actually almost quit in trial deck format.
Mm.
And what it is, I was playing on webcam tournaments. And what the problem is people need to play faster. And I just told myself, I'm not going to play casually against slow ass players. Like it's no fun. It's no fun for me.
Do you feel
Yeah, it
like
could
that
get
now
hard.
in like online events? Where you're
If
like,
it's like a casual game, I feel like that.
Oh,
If it's like even a casual tournament, I am also just like, can you just play a little bit faster? But if it's like a tournament, usually them playing slow is a sign of them not being as experienced of a player, and I'm not like that big of a problem with it.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
It gives you so much time to think too. Like that's what I feel like if they're thinking, I usually take that time to be like, okay, what can he possibly have in his hand that he's like thinking about right now?
Sometimes it's just like wasting your time. Like you're swinging for 7, they have 1 card in hand. They're like, well, I have to take the damage, right?
You're just thinking in your head like, there's only one play to this, so I don't know what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. There's just like some naturally like slow players though. I'm usually pretty patient. But if they're really slow and they're doing it like 3 turns in a row and I'm just sitting there waiting, I'm gonna have to say something,
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be rude or anything.
Guys, this is a PSA. Don't let players be boring slow. Okay. So
Yeah, sometimes they'll sit there for a
it's like
while.
the game for me, Like I'm trying to enjoy this game. You're going so slow.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a competitive player, don't play too slow. It's
Yeah.
you want this game to be more competitive. They were gonna be like, well, I want best of 3, and like you can't
Oh
even
my
play
God.
one game in 40 minutes, bro.
Or like if you're in the finals or something, okay, yeah, you're in the finals.
For
so you gotta
sure.
be like really thinking about
Yeah,
your
I think
plays.
that's fair.
Yeah.
But if it's like round
Whatever.
1, 2, 3, you know, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, exactly.
A best
I
of
feel
3 would
like
be a
in like a
nightmare for this
eight-round
game.
event, like 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm
Mhm.
like
I-
chilling. Then once I get to like 5,
Actually, we'll definitely bring up best
Yeah.
of 1 versus best of 3 later,
Yeah.
right? But I feel like the main thing, and we'll bring this up later. I feel as if best of 1 would be good for big tournaments, but I think there should be a bigger top cut, right?
For sure.
To where if you lose but by variance for reasons, you still have a chance at like top prizing.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what like I think Magic does, right?
Mhm.
And maybe even like other things. When they do like a top cut to 16, it's like if you go X2, you're probably not going to get in, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of structure things that I would change with One Piece
Yeah.
for sure.
But it's hard to like. The game's only been out for 6 months.
Oh yeah,
you know, so-
which is why I'm so hopeful all the time. Like when I'm talking about like the regionals and everything, I usually stray away from like 100% putting Bandai on blast because like
Mhm.
it's a very new card
Mhm.
game that they need to learn from. So it's like there's still some hope, and I feel like they do listen to the community like a good amount. Like they increased the tournament capacities recently, so
yeah,
which is really good.
I was actually shocked by that. Like it was that
Yeah.
fast.
They
it's
also
funny
increased
because-
the top cut too, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it has to be bigger now after
Yeah.
that.
Because I think
gonna be-
Arlington was still top 16.
It was, it was. My buddy
What?
got
Yeah.
top 32, and I told him about that, and he's like, "Yeah, no, at there." I asked him, it's only top 16 gets invitational.
Yeah, which is
And-
outrageous because top cut's 32, and it's just like, okay,
but
well,
they didn't specify that, and he's not really worried
Yeah.
about it, right? So
yeah,
but if the top cut was top 64 and top 32 get into thing, I think that would
Yeah,
that
that
would be
would be
great.
fun.
I think it's more
Yeah.
fun overall. I don't like that webcams that don't have a top cut. It's just kind of lazy to me.
yeah,
It's actually it's because it's really, it's really based off of the org, right? Is it really Bandai? Is it really time? Like how much? It's not like they're taking everyone's time. They're just taking 16 or 32 people, 24 people's time.
yeah.
just
The thing about it too, it's like it calls like the legitimacy of like the online tournaments into question because a lot of people are saying, which is true, that the online tournaments like are more random and also they're like more they're easier because then you don't have to go through the best of 3 top cut matches.
Mhm.
And I always talk to Kek about this. It's like it's not the best players that are making into these events. It's the best players that can
Click the
click
fastest.
Yeah, 100%.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can have
Yeah.
some subpar players. Plus, the lack of a top cut just makes it so
Yeah. Well,
chaotic. Like you know, it's like is the first place winner actually a good player, or they just had like a lucky 8 round?
I do want to pause
Yeah.
this for a second. I want to definitely talk more about that later, right? So if you want to write that down in your little notes, Saucy, talk about top cut.
Noted. I'm gonna write it here on my chalkboard.
Yeah, checking the segmenting, but I didn't realize this too, that Spotify also has segmenting, right?
Oh.
And
You
so-
told me.
yeah,
last
I'm
night.
like, wait, what? That's awesome. I did it by accident. So
Like you have it on YouTube. Now
yeah,
you can do
that's
it
the
on
exact same format. So
Sick, man.
yeah,
People are gonna enjoy that.
that'd be great. So what in set 1, what did you mostly do, Ping Pirates? Because set 1 came out. You did super pre-release, right? December 2nd comes out. What happened? Right.
Yeah, so I was mainly playing in locals. I did get into Carta Magica's online regional, which was really funny. That was the one where like in the morning they just like shut down near the tail end, so they had 40 spots open, and they were gonna reopen it at like some later time. But then I remember I was on the road back from Tahoe. And then I was like, okay, this Carta Magica one's the only one I haven't checked up on. I've missed every other one because I didn't wake up in time. And then I check it and it says register. The button says register. There's like 40. I was like, wait, this is insane. And then so then I click it and then I go through all the things and then it goes through. Like I get a confirmation.
Wow.
And then I tell my friends, I'm like, guys, we're like all in cars. Like we're all in different cars coming back from Tahoe. And they're like, guys, like you need to sign up for this. And the minute that happens, someone in Discord on the Carta Magica server goes, yo, guys, did you see that the register button's working? and then all of a sudden my friends are like, yeah, I'm like 300 in queue like right now. So it was insane.
God.
So like it was
You
crazy.
got
Was that for set
super
2 though?
lucky.
I'm
That was
just.
for set 1. That was like one of the first online regional signups, I think.
But was that in set 2 format?
No, it was a set. Oh,
Set
actually,
one.
I'm pretty sure
was
there was.
yeah, you're right. It was set
Yeah.
2 because I was planning on playing Kinemon for that tournament.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
So for
but
set.
the signups were in set 1. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but okay. So that's a pretty great story with that too. But
Yeah, I actually fell asleep for that tournament. So yeah, it's completely yeah. So I woke up at 6 and I completely forgot it was like Eastern Standard Time. So I wake up at 6 and then I look at the tournament announcements and they're like, "Oh yeah, make sure to like check in and everything at 11 a.m." And I was like, "Oh, I got so much time to sleep." So then I fell asleep, and then I wake up to like Discord notifications that like round 2 is starting, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
That's terrible.
And so then I was able to message the TO like, "Oh, can I still play in round 3? I'm here." And then I played round 3. I think I played like against a Garp, and then yeah, I beat him. And then I was like, "Oh, if you want the win, like I'm gonna go to locals, so you could take it." And he was like, "No, I think I'm gonna go too." We were like both 0-2 already.
Oh god,
Yeah,
that's
so I was
funny.
like,
It's like,
okay,
"Oh,
so
you want to win?
yeah, it was just, and he was like, "Yeah, take it," and then I just took it and
Mhm.
went to locals that day. It was,
Wow, that sucks, bro.
yeah,
That's
it was tough.
unfortunate.
I was really upset about it because the online
Yeah.
regionals are harder to get into than the treasure cups are.
Mhm.
I found it's
Why
like way
is
harder.
that, by the way? I noticed that too for indie signups. It was like you check off like the priority, and I prioritized a treasure cup first, and by the time I got the treasure cup, the regionals was like almost gone. So
Yeah,
I
I think it's
barely got
the
it.
invite. I think the invite is more important to a lot of people than the serial Luffy.
Prizes.
I
Yeah.
think there's participation prize in the invite, right? Compared to
Yeah.
other Bandai games. I don't play any other Bandai games, but that's what I've heard. So just going to nationals, you're probably gonna get like, some skill.
Yeah.
So
Don't you think
Yeah.
it's a good sign though? Like people would rather like play the game than
Oh,
go
for
to
sure. For
this.
sure.
I think that's a really good
Mhm.
sign about
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
community.
To back up real quick, so in OP01, however, you said you
Yeah,
just
I
went
was
to
just
locals.
mainly just playing at
What
locals.
were
Yeah.
you playing?
Oh, I was playing Doflamingo almost throughout the
Doflamingo.
whole time.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
yeah, I was
yeah, let's go.
that was at a time too where we were just figuring out the meta. So it was so funny going from like Doflamingo beats Kid because we were like in the super pre-release format where
Yeah.
we're like, yeah, like there's nothing you could do against Doflamingo as green. Like you can't
Yeah.
play half of your cards. And then like they're like, oh wait, no, like Kid actually like beats Doflamingo,
Yeah.
and then people are also saying Red beats Doflamingo, and then I which I never understood. Like
Didn't get
people
it
would tell me that all the time. Like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
it's too hard. It's too hard to play.
I think people didn't realize
Dofi.
how to deal with Zoro. Zoro was
Yeah,
actually just a monster. When he
Yeah. Because I had my own theory about it. I think a lot of them were countering their board. That's what I always thought. Because then, like, usually when I played Doflamingo in OP1, I'm like, okay, you want to swing 5 at my board? That's fine. Like, go ahead and take it. And then you would just trade. Like, that's the whole thing about the red matchup is you're just trading. And I think it was easy. It was way easier than OP2 because you didn't have to worry about 9-drop. You didn't have to worry about 9-drop at all.
Mhm.
So they'd have like 2 cards in hand and you'd win the game.
Well, especially when Luffy got really popular, they were playing Ben Beckman.
Yeah, for sure.
They'd make the mistake of playing a 7 cost. So I'm like, why?
Yeah, and then it just gets.
Why would you do that?
Just gets bottom decked. Or they'd play the 7 cost. My favorite was they played like the 7 cost. You Dofi it. You 7 cost Dofi. They played again, and then you just Mihawk it, and then it's like, wow, what do I do?
The reaction to your opponent's face is always.
I think mine
What
was.
did you expect?
I think mine was more played 9 cost, but.
Yeah.
Those two, and they're like, how many Mihawks do you run?
4. You run 4.
Yeah, I run 4 for Kid.
Yeah.
I was actually I was more afraid, I feel like, of Law at the time as I was with Kid.
Yeah.
'Cause
I
Law
lost
was,
my
like,
first
really
tournament to
scary.
Law playing Doflamingo. It was hard.
Yeah, man. Like I think Law's always just had like a good matchup against Dofi.
It's
Law
it's
doesn't
better
care.
now because we have Jinbei and 1 cost, right? But
Yeah, and the 1 cost Dofi.
yeah, but
Yeah, that
It's-
matchup is a little bit
In
better.
OPL 1, I found it really hard. I definitely faced bad players at playing Law, and they would squeak out wins against me, and I'm like, yeah, I guess 5 costs is a good card, right? So 5 cost blocker Law.
Yeah, they hit so many tools.
Yeah, man. It's like, what do? You know, do you go face and
Did-
give them cards?
Did
or
you
try to
get into
build
any
board?
treasure cups or I guess physical treasure cups in OPO1?
No, not for OPO1. And I'm in grad school right now, so I actually like I can't travel. Like or it's really hard for me to travel.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like a money and time thing. That's why I'm such a big advocate for the online tournaments. Like everyone is like, "Oh, we shouldn't have them because of all the cheating," and I'm like, "Oh, actually, I think they're really good. They're
I'm
really
on the
good."
same board as you. I'd rather not spend $500 to travel. And let's say if I even like do really well in it, I'm basically just breaking even. Like,
yeah, it's a huge ask too. Like
that's what you win.
Yeah,
You
it's a
know,
huge
you have
ask.
to live
You know, like to ask people to come in and like play in the tournament, and that's not even mentioning like accessibility issues that people might have. It's just all around better to have that option.
Oh, yeah. I think it's definitely good to have options for people,
Yeah.
you know, with different needs, right?
yeah. Well, they're not just gonna have like big tournaments all over the place, right? They're not gonna
Yeah,
come
that was the other thing.
to your locals. And
Yeah.
every local with the big Bandai thing, and everyone travels to it, right?
Because I think the main consensus for that is like we should just have like double the amount of offline events, and then that'll fix things. But it doesn't, because then like only the big TOs are really going to have the space and capacity and like money to run something like that. So they're going to be in Florida, they're going to be, you know, maybe in Vegas, Texas. So it's like it's pretty much the same thing. You'll just have like double the amount.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, it's not like more players will get to play in these tournaments.
Yeah.
'cause they just fill out so quick,
Yeah.
you know.
So then after those tournaments, what we're talking about is getting signed up. I wanted to ask about your content, right? Did you make any content at all before One Piece? Is anything you looked at?
Like I think the thing I had before was, I don't know if you played it. It's like Pokemon Tower Defense. It was like a Flash game from like way back then, and I would just like, they had like these mystery gift codes. I would post them, and then that's like my only form of content creation.
Oh, okay.
I actually, so making it, because me and my friends, we've always wanted to do like some sort of content. We've always talked about it, like, oh, we should do a podcast of like us talking about like Fate lore or like anime or whatever. So then I mean, we said the same thing about like One Piece, and it was such a good time to get in on it because it's like, you know, there's not a lot of people in this space right now. So we ended up making that channel, and then I was the main one posting in it. I think I think the other people, they're more on the shyer side, so or not as like articulate with their thoughts is what they say. Like it's hard for them to explain things sometimes, which is a different skill, so I definitely understand.
So you kind of took over the helm of that. Did you come up with the name of your channel at this time, like the Peng Pirates?
Yeah, we were like bouncing around different ideas, and I think we landed on like something like Emperor Penguin Pirates, because it's like, oh, like the 4 emperors, because there's 4 of us on the channel. So then we were gonna do something with that, and they were like, that's too long, so just shorten it to like Peng Pirates.
But why the penguins? You just like penguins, or?
Yeah, I don't know why we landed on that. It's just like, it was. I think it was just like the play on. Yeah, I think it was just like the play on words for like Emperor Penguins. Like we were planning on having like a banner of like, I don't know, like the 4 emperors as like penguins and stuff.
That's dope, man. Maybe y'all can bring that back later on, you know.
Yeah.
Pengu Yonkos. You know, that's the collab we need. There's another channel.
Somebody listening to this needs to draw that for me. I need to see this.
Yeah, we actually have someone drawing it right now, but they're like super busy, so we haven't gotten that yet. But yeah, that's definitely about to be on like
Peng Pirates is a community of people, but generally I just see you making more of the content. That's
I like if you ever see like if you ever watch like our like table gameplay videos, like I have the names. Like it's always either like James, Gabe, or Darian, and we just kind of like play. That's how we play games. And then and I think James, especially near the beginning, he was uploading a couple of videos, but he works full time, so it's hard. That kind of balance is really hard.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
I feel you, man.
with that too, right? You guys are making content. Like I've seen a little bit of your content. It seems that people at your locals are new to the game. You're trying to teach them it, and you're trying to just use a video just to be like, hey, instead of me explaining to you this, can you just watch this video I've made? Is that relative at all? I mean, I'm sure you'll talk to them about it, but I'm sure
I think it was like I actually didn't tell anyone in my locals like about the channel, and my thought process was like, if they find it, like that's cool. But I wasn't like I was never the type to like want to kind of share it, because the channel was still growing too. So then like it was like I didn't want to kind of put something out there and then like people judge about it or whatever.
When it's like your passion project like that, you know, you putting your heart out. It kind of sucks when, you know, people you know, try to react to it, you know?
Yeah, and I didn't want people thinking that I was like just talking to them to get like a channel plug. But they ended up finding it on their own. One person, one guy from my locals pretty much found it, and he was like, "Hey, is this you?" And I was like, "Yeah, it is me." And then he like told everyone else at locals, so like everyone else knows. But yeah.
So you're telling me you don't go to locals and just shout out, "Hey guys, make sure you guys just go to Discord. Make sure you follow me. Listen to my podcast."
No, I
don't do that?
I just can't. Like, no, like it's definitely like
hand out flyers, like, "Hey, can you see my podcast?"
Like, and it definitely would have helped in the beginning, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Like I always have like. Because I've had friends like that before, or like I've talked to people like that before, and interacted with people in like in the card game community, where it's like we'll have like a good conversation, and then like in the middle of it, it's just like it takes like a complete 180 into like what they're doing on a channel, and it's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
like,
I guess
this
that
is
could
why
be
you're
really
talking to me.
awkward. Yeah. I don't think I've done that, to be honest, but like usually at the end of a tournament, you know, I'll just be like, "Oh, shout out to my podcast. Go listen to me." You know, like if I like win locals or something. Like
quick plug.
This one is dedicated to my viewers.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, for sure.
That's funny, bro.
Yeah.
No, I guess it's a little different for me because I'm like a vlog style, you know, type of channels. I go out and I actually have to like tell people, you know. But I feel like in the short time I've been on the platform, I feel like I've been growing at a good pace because of that.
It's hard, you know, like you know, we're not sitting at 1.5k subs like some people, but you know,
I think I got incredibly lucky. Like it was a good time to come in.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean,
what sort of content did you start with when you first created your channel?
So we were wondering what to really start with. I think at first it was just deck profiles. So like the first video I made, it's actually a pretty funny story. I made it after my first locals win, and like I didn't want to upload any deck profile until we got like a locals win, because those were getting a lot more videos, like, or a lot more views. Like when you had like the little winner card, it was like a huge deal.
Everybody's like, my first place deck. Like,
or like undefeated Dofi locals, and it's like he went like 3-0 at locals.
Oh, at locals, yeah. XO, they don't need to know X, you know.
So then, and that video blew up for some reason. It was really weird. So I think I uploaded it like around December 20-ish, and then like literally on Christmas Day, I woke up and it had like 11k views, and I think that's what put the channel like really far ahead. That's why I say that I think I got lucky. It just like the algorithm just like picked it up, and then like I was able to get like 100 or something subs that day. So it was pretty crazy.
Wow, in one day.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. So then that's why I'm like, yeah, this is like very much a luck thing. I think it's the most view. It's like the first and most viewed video on my channel is that Dofi.
Really?
deck list.
Yeah, I mean, people were trying to play a lot of things back then too. I remember I was
Yeah.
looking for deck lists to play, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
looking at a lot of YouTube videos at that time.
Oh,
man.
for sure. Yeah.
mhm.
Me too.
Well,
Because so
sometimes
many-
you'll put in YouTube. I'll do this. I'll search by new. You know, like what's
Yeah.
that's something
Like
I'll
the
do.
most
Yeah,
updated deck
literally.
list.
And I'm like,
Literally.
dude, there's so many like clickbait on this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's how I found Ashby too. And I'm like, maybe he's right about this list. Maybe he's not right. This is
Yeah.
it's really funny content. Maybe I should be more satirical with it.
Ash
Right,
is
you'd be right,
super
actually wrong.
funny.
Yeah.
I love watching Ash's content because it's like a mini game. I'm like, okay, when is he joking and when is he not? Because
Yeah.
because
I don't think he's ever joking. He's always
I
serious.
have a new mini game for you, okay? And Ash wouldn't really care if I said this, but the new the new mini game is watch a short of his and then count how many times he blinks. Okay.
Oh
Just,
god, I
oh.
knew you would say that. Oh, my
blinking's a heavy thing.
I
He
didn't
just
see
blinks a
that
lot.
until you mentioned it, Keg.
Yeah.
This is your fault.
It's all,
That's all I can think of.
yeah, it's not like a bad thing. So it's just
Yeah, I think Ash is he's one of my favorite content creators for sure.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I just like how he speaks his mind, you know?
Oh, for
And
sure. Yeah.
He's not always right, and sometimes he's wrong, but he's very entertaining the whole way through.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I watch
Mhm.
this shit.
Maybe I
'Cause
should.
he-
Maybe I need to do something like that. I think I'm gonna start with this Goldie Roger card that I just made. I'll post it on YouTube
Yeah.
right now. Right? I was with Saucy last night. We were just talking for like an hour, and I was just making this card. And he was like, "Okay, we should get double attack on this." And
Yeah, I saw
banish.
that card and it reminded me of there's this Hearthstone YouTuber where they just send him custom cards. And I was like, that could be super fun. Like, oh,
Mhm.
send me your custom cards
Mhm.
and I'll rate them.
I guess so. This
Yeah.
one, it took a lot of editing. I wanted to make it look really legit, but then I
Yeah.
put on the side Bandai, made in Jamaica. So, but people are
picture is
just
so
still funny. They're
funny.
like, I can still get removed, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
I can
Put it
still-
up on here.
That could get red rocked.
we have to balance it somehow, guys. We can't be unbalanced. But I think it's like on KO, and now the One Piece is real.
Is that the negative effect? Like, damn, oh, man, this card's mediocre now.
Yeah.
You play it for 10 and then it just like gets removed by like a Kuzan the next turn.
I know, right? We didn't put anti-kill effects on it?
Yeah. No,
Damn.
we didn't do that.
We
Why?
forgot.
It has to be balanced, right? So,
Oh,
and they were
okay,
like,
right.
dude, they should have been red. I'm like, honestly, no. I feel like it would
Red,
be like
but-
ridiculous if this was red. Just
Yeah, you're gonna give Red more tools.
the reason why I
right?
chose green too was because I was trying to go off of 7-cost kid skill. I tried to base it off of 7-cost kid,
Yeah.
to restand. And I'm like, oh, let's not give it a cost or anything. It just restands, even on block.
just cause.
Even on block, it restands. So you can just block with that every time. So, yeah. And then it's set 69. So someone's like, dude, I have to wait 67 more sets for this? This is ridiculous.
But like
One piece is
69
real by then.
number 400
20.
20.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
I need to do card reviews like that in shorts. I know, and see if that
Yeah, I
gets
think
anywhere.
I think that would be super fun because
Yeah.
then you get to talk a
Make it
lot
up.
about card balancing and card design.
Yeah, but well, it's more of a
True.
satirical point than it actually.
Yeah, for
is.
sure,
You
though.
just
that one.
literally make all the cards Kek and be like, oh, this one's from John over in whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
But it's all
Uh,
yours.
Yeah, subscribe to the Patreon. I'll make your
Oh, there's
card,
so
make
many
a
people
short.
sending them custom cards. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm sure it's out there though. People
Yeah.
have definitely like
Yeah,
made
there's
it.
a lot of
cards.
content.
Is there
Mhm.
what's on the horizon right now for you, Adrian, and Pink Pirates? Like, what are you guys getting into now?
I mean, I feel like so I just started finally covering OP3.
Okay.
Which is always fun to talk about, like new meta and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But there are some bigger projects that we were kind of thinking about. But oh man, they're so difficult to do for One Piece. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched like Yu-Gi-Oh content. But
Yeah.
for a long time we
Oh.
were thinking about doing like a sealed only, trying to win like a treasure cup or something with it. But it's just so hard for One Piece because it's
'Cause
so hard to get
it's-
sealed products.
It's already but the thing is, it's really hard to get into a
That's
tournament.
So hard.
Yeah. on top of
there's
that,
so many factors.
There's
like
too
to it.
much financial things, and then
Every week at locals, you have to play like a dog deck, and it's like
Well, we already had that. We already have
optimized deck.
pre-release format, which is basically sealed in a way.
Dude.
Yeah, so it's been hard.
Impossible in this game.
Yeah,
it's so hard.
Like we were really optimistic about it before. Maybe in OP4 though, because apparently OP3 is it's supposed to be like the last short printed set. So probably in OP4 they might stabilize. Yeah.
Oh, we're
That's
still
what I've
worried.
heard.
We're still worried about how much product people are getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
because I think OP1, OP2 was
always
bad.
gonna be the game that really spiked really big in OPO2 and spiked even harder in OPO. Well, OPO1 and then OPO2 it spiked super hard. But
Yeah.
you probably go to locals now, like you guys. You guys are not even going to locals this week, right? So a lot less people are going to locals right now.
I think it's just the format. It's gotten kind of stale. People are
I
sick of
definitely
the
feel
OP2
that.
format.
I would be attending
Mhm.
a lot less locals and focusing more on content if I didn't get into the June Treasure Cup.
Mhm.
So like that for sure.
The
Because that
June
one's still
Treasure
OP2.
Mhm.
Which one's that one?
It's with Carta Magica.
It's
Carta.
kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good segue. Let's segue into the next signups, right? You know,
Yeah.
and I think I talked about this before in a podcast, but I'll say this again. Bandai has these setups, or these orgs have these setups where it's a first come first serve sign up, right?
Yeah.
And it is what it is right now. I think people would like something different, but you'll get people that can't get into single one because they're just not fast enough, or you get people that get into everything because they're degenerate and they want to get some prizes.
Four computers.
No, I just one.
Every window.
Just one and
I
Fiverr.
feel like you're
things
talking
like that.
about me and yourself.
I'm
there
talking
in
about
that
me, yeah.
metaphor.
So
'Cause I'm the guy that doesn't ever get into anything.
So
Tough.
I guess that there was one last Sunday they had some signups, right?
Yeah.
They had it for 4 tournaments. I think one was like they extended it, right?
Yeah, I think it's core regionals.
Yeah, they extended it to 1,000 people instead. At the same time, they also increased PPG to 1,000. And so if you were on the wait list for that, you also
Which I wish I knew because when I didn't get in for the Eventbrite, I was like, okay, well that's it, and then I just clicked off.
I got into the wait list, and then
that's James.
By James.
James.
I got into the wait list, okay, and then that's when I got back into. I got an email saying sign up now, and I'm like, yes, thank God. So,
Yeah, I got into like the last minute. So if I don't know, anyone doesn't in the morning, they don't check in.
So then, there was 2 Carta Magica signups at the same time, right? One for June,
both
and
treasure
one
cups.
for was it July and August?
It's August, yeah.
Okay, is it one in June or is it one in July?
There's one I think June 17, and then there's August 12th.
Okay, not in
and
July.
they're both treasure cups.
Okay. Yeah. So I got into both of those, but that was really hard to get into. It was like 43 minutes of spam refreshing, and then
the worst.
if you got into it 30 minutes late, you could get into it. I think Saucy had a story with that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the online event.
Yeah.
Right?
Carta
Yeah,
Magica.
I had set my alarm for the wrong time zone that day, so I woke up like 30 minutes after it opened, and I'm like, okay, it's probably too late, but let me go in. And then I went in, and then I waited, and then I actually got a ticket. So I'm like, wow, how did that happen? That never happens.
Yeah. I was awake at 6 for me because that's I'm on PST, so it's like
same.
I was just sitting there and I was like, I had like my tablet, I was literally just hitting refresh on both things just for like 30 minutes straight, and I was like, this is absurd. Like,
oh, wow.
Mine was a click refresh. I had both tabs open.
Me too. I had both,
and I got in, and then there was a queue. The thing is, there were still queues. Because what happened is you would jump into the queue, you'd be, let's say, 1,000 in line, right? And then it would kick you off 10 seconds later.
Yeah, and then it would go 3,000.
But the thing is, it would keep that spot, right?
Yeah.
But then after 5 minutes, when you finally get down to 0 and the 5 minutes passes, that your old profile dropped.
Yeah.
So you had to get back in at the same time. And the second one was at over 10,000. I remember when it was over 9,000, we posted it's over 9,000. I was making like 50 memes right during this time. I'll post them.
There was
now.
So many rumors going around. They were like, "Oh, people are botting this time around" and everything like that. But it was I don't see it. I don't think I see a lot of people botting. I think it's just people trying to get into the events.
If you are botting and listening to this, can you? I'm not going to get you in trouble. Can you tell me?
Can you send it?
No, don't send it to me. I want to know your insight. Okay, that's it. I'm still going to continue doing what I do because it's working, but I want to know your insight because I don't think anyone's actually botting. That's my theory.
I don't think so either.
If you're saying there is, show me proof.
Why don't you think there is? Okay.
It's hard to get into it. Like, how can a bot refresh like that? I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's also just like it's not because I see the scalping argument too, where like I've had a couple of commenters say that they need to cut the participation pricing because it's too much. It's too much. But if you think about it, like if you get 2 treasure cup packs for just participating, but it's like $30, and then the treasure packs are like what, like 40 each, and then if you risk opening them, like I guess like the low end is like $10 that you can make profit. The high end's like 50. So that's the reason why I don't think a lot of people are like a good majority of the people signing up for the tournaments, they want to play, because if you're a scalper doing it, you actually have to go like levels beyond to make it worth it. Because you're sitting there for like what, 3 hours for like $50. Like you could be doing so much more.
They could just keep going out, working like a job.
So that's why I think that the scalping doesn't really exist, and especially for the regionals, because like the regionals, like I do agree, like the regionals participations, I think they're like they're sitting at like 100 something.
Also,
so it's a lot more worth it.
It's a weird thing to bring this up, but this is why I think we should go away from that. I think everyone doesn't like BCP, right? It's because it's worst coast pairings. That's what we're calling it. They have another flaw in their system, right? Apparently, you can go in and to your BCP and change your email, change your name.
Oh, that's
and
insane.
Say, hey, here you go, Adrian. I got you a spot. Can I get paid $200, right, for this spot?
That's kind of crazy.
I
didn't know that.
I don't think you guys should do that out there, but you can do that, and that's a flaw that should be looked at.
They need to fix that right away.
With RK9, it's actually impossible because they ask you your name.
It's like a one-time sign.
It's a profile, right? There is no.
It's good.
Yeah.
So, RK9 is just super refined. Like that's what I learned. Because like even though I've personally had like that's coming from someone who's only gotten into events for like BCP. Like but RK9 is just super refined, and you don't have to sit and wait there for like 30 minutes to find out if you could get in or not.
RK9 is so good that you just miss out because everyone else was fast, and there was it wasn't at least
that's pretty much what it comes down to.
That's what my computer's terrible.
And like Tixer too is good. Tixer just has like they have just so much bandwidth compared to all the other. I think they do concerts.
I think people like BCP for when the tournament actually starts, right?
100%.
But for signing up, it's not.
It's
there,
not good.
But
I like BCP as the app. It's really, really good. Like because it has the round start, it has the timer, and then like it has like the player. Like you could search up like all your friends, see how they're doing. It's really, really nice. But as a registration, it's so bad as like a registration platform.
And I think most people want to at least try, at the very least, a raffle sign up, right?
Yeah.
I think they want to at least try it to see how that goes, because they do that in Europe already. So why can't we have this in North America?
Also, I think something that hasn't really been explored is they have our Bandai IDs. It would be very nice if they actually did something with them and like said, oh, this person is in this tournament. Like if they were to do a raffle, like take them out of like whatever this raffle is. If they already got in for some other tournament. But it would be kind of hard to communicate.
It's kind of funny. I got into everything online, and it is good that I'm happy that I got into play, right? But at the same time, I'm like, I have to clear my Saturday. Like, I played all Saturday in May. Every Saturday, I had to play around that, and I'm like, God, this gets exhausting. You know, everybody else is fucking hates you, Sage. I want to play in the game, but you get into every single one. And I'm like, I didn't make the rules. You know, we didn't.
Yeah, that was something that I didn't really want to talk about. Was the first one felt really nice, obviously, because like. That's where I got the top. But then the second and the third one, it was like such a slog. Like the second one was
what was
so bad.
your placement, if you don't mind me asking?
I got I got 8th, like exactly 8th.
8th? Wow, so you get the Luffy card.
No.
Yeah,
Really?
I have it at home. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah,
That was
treasure
when.
Yeah,
oh,
treasure
okay.
cups are 8.
Treasure cups. Okay, my bad.
Congrats, bro.
I got
Thank
10th
you,
in a
thank you.
regional. That's why. So you got 8th. You got the Luffy. You
You played Dofi?
No, I was playing so I was gonna play Dofi, but I moved between my apartment for school and like my parents' house, and I just left my entire like half of my collection like at my parents' house. So then I had
Oh,
to scrounge together like a Whitebeard list that I had at my apartment. And if you look like at the list, it's such a janky list. Like I think I'm running like I think it's like 2 like
that's funny.
promo Luffy. Like I at the start I couldn't find my Sanji, so I was running like 2 Usopp, 2 Sanji. It was pretty funny.
Oh wow.
Um,
Hey man, you must be a skilled player if you get top 8 with a subpar list, you know?
I think it was, well, I mean, it wasn't like it was subpar because it was like 2Ks are 2Ks, you
Yeah.
know, like.
True,
But
true.
I also think those
End of the
tournaments, I mean, best of ones, it's a lot of variance. So then
Mhm.
like I only played against red, and my deck is like really really good against red since it's hybrid. So it was not that hard. And then every law player just bricked. Like whenever I played against them, they all just bricked. It was
Really?
insane.
I felt
Yeah.
when I
Just
topped, I
lucked
got a
out.
little lucky as well with some
Yeah,
players.
like, I
It's
feel
just
like
what
it's-
it is.
It's
It's a
at the end of the
crapshoot.
day, you just have to play like the most consistent deck to you,
Mhm.
and then you just have to test your luck with like all the matchups and everything.
Yeah, we didn't go to an offline regional where everyone was sweating like Saucy did. You know,
Dude, offline
That's
is
hard.
so competitive, dude.
Yeah,
It
that
was
sounds
like the
difficult.
hardest tournament in my life. Just going there and like playing in
Yeah.
Montreal. There was like 500 players all sitting next to each other, like 100 tables down. It's like in a giant room. Yeah, you slogging through that, man, and then you're waiting each round just on your
Yeah.
feet, and then they seat you and all that.
hmm
Yeah, it was pretty miserable.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
it's hard because the different venues have different rules. It was like something I talked about in the video. The online regionals are nice because then like in between rounds you could just like go grab a snack, do
Mhm.
whatever. But then
Yeah.
like when I was in a regional for Yu-Gi-Oh, like they didn't allow food, there was no water, like
Mhm.
they didn't even allow like water inside the venue.
You don't get human rights when you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
So,
you
here's-
have to
here's
leave
my-
the venue.
I have a question. Since you guys can both answer this actually, because you guys like online events, do you feel like when you're playing against your opponent, because you're not sitting across from each other, you kind of like miss the reading part of the game? Like it's more
Ooh.
difficult to read your opponent when you're not sitting across from them. You know what I mean?
Generally, I just play the game as it is, right?
Yeah.
Regardless, I feel like it's a disadvantage to me because I like to mess with my opponent in ways like my if I just
That's
talking
the
to
part I
them.
enjoy. That's why.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
'Cause
Like,
I
that's
still
what
do
makes it
that.
fun
I
for
still
me.
talk to my opponent in the game. I'm like,
Yeah.
unlucky, pretty, yeah, stuff like that. Right?
And you just have perfect curve. He's like, wait a minute.
Well, I can tell you an example actually, and I had this game came out today. I was against Whitebeard. Okay, I put it up to my channel, and against this Whitebeard, I swing for 6. I do a lot of things, you know. I finally decide to swing for 6K at his leader. This is like
Yeah.
me going for my kill turn, and then he just goes, I use a 2K, and I'm like, well, I guess that's pretty unlucky, and that, like for him, right? And then I swing another 6K at him, and he had to use a radical beam for a 1K counter, and I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
I guess
God.
that's pretty unlucky, you know. So you just
Yeah.
there is that kind of poker aspect you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just you can read your opponent right there, right?
Yeah.
But generally I don't think of that. I just kind of play the game for what it is. Because
Okay.
you really
I was
can't rely on that, especially against
Yeah.
good players.
What
I
about
think
you, Fang?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, I think that's why I ended up going with Whitebeard, is because like a lot of the time, all it comes down to is math. Like that's all it comes down to in my end games. Like whenever I think half of my games were just like, okay, I'm gonna die next turn. I need to like have like the correct math to like squeak the win out. So it's
Yeah.
not like it's a lot of like, oh, if he has it, he has it. If he doesn't, like I just lose, which is okay. Because I think it was Will to Win actually pointed this out, this strategy where you can actually like and I've done it playing Whitebeard, where you can actually like fake that you don't have counter in hand,
Mhm.
and you a lot of the time like, and I think I did it for one game where he swung like 6k at me, and I still had like 7 cards in hand, and I just tapped for like a rad beam, just to see if he would go all in for a game, and then he did, and I just had like a ton of 2Ks in hand.
Wow.
Yeah, and then but if he
That's
just like
awesome.
spread out his Dawn like more evenly, I would have had to use like one at a time, and then he could have swung me. He could have just swung me for game by the end of it. Like I would have ran out of 2Ks. I would have had to use something else anyway. So it was. So there are definitely moments like that where a good player, like, you know, they'll give you like 3 1Ks for like a 7K swing, and you'll think like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
And then they have the counter in hand, and it's like, oh, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I mean that aspect of it is definitely true. But for me, like when I'm playing across the table with another player, because obviously we're not on camera. Like there's certain signs that you can pick up from an opponent just like watching them play. I
Yeah.
don't know. I like that aspect of it. Like just trying to figure out and gathering that information. They might like flash a card or something and you'll see it. You know what I mean? It could be
I've seen
anything.
so much of that on the webcam.
That's something I don't like
true.
about webcam, actually.
Yeah.
It is so hard not to see your opponent's card. And
Yeah,
I
usually
actually
let
flash
them
cards
know.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I let them know right
Yeah.
away. And then the thing is, it's really hard though, because you'll still see like something in their hand. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
they should have did something
late.
with
I
their
mean,
setup.
I can't
once
not
you see it,
unsee
it's
it,
too late.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you can be nice and tell them,
Yeah.
hey, bro.
I mean,
it's your hand, but-
maybe we should just stop saying something and then they'll learn the hard way. I don't know, but like,
I mean, I do see.
I-
There was one time, like, I saw like half of his hand, like it was, and I saw half of his hand was like all
Mhm.
like 1K block or like 1 cost blockers, and so I knew I had game, but I was like, oh, you're flashing your hand, but I can't do anything. I can't unsee
it's too
that.
late.
yeah.
Like,
You already
and it's
have the
not like I'm not
information.
gonna play around it, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's too hard.
Because it'd be a mistake. You'd be like, well, I was dumb. Like I should.
Yeah, I mean, like, and what if that costs me the game? Like,
yeah,
you know,
and
trying
it's
to
not
play
like
like
we're
that.
cheating. They're literally
Yeah.
accidentally showing
Yeah.
their hand.
It's-
You know.
It's
There's
just
also
what
the
happens.
aspect I feel like of quality control. You know, when you're playing online, a lot of players will be playing in like, you know, really
Oh,
bad
yeah.
quality, like
gosh.
terrible, or they might
I-
be like freezing.
I
You
think
know?
Yeah.
most of the time it is Discord itself.
Yeah.
But I had some issues when you have that many people on a Discord on a busy Saturday, because there's probably
Yeah.
other things going on. You have to give some leeway. And actually, my last one I played last Saturday, it was pretty laggy. Like I had
Yeah.
a couple games where like they stopped for a second, and you're like,
I
"Well, I'm
watched
glad I'm
that.
recording
Yeah,
this."
I have it.
It must be so annoying to like deal with that, you know? And be like, dude,
Yeah.
are you there?
Yeah.
Are
I
you
had
just
one that was
are you not
really bad
moving,
against
or
the
you-
Doflamingo. I ended up beating
Mm.
him, but it was just really, really awkward, you know?
Yeah, that's another thing. It gets so awkward because I had a guy, he disconnected, like his webcam disconnected.
Mhm.
And I knew it was his because I could see mine and his at the same time. So I knew it wasn't me. But he was like, "Oh, you disconnected." And at this time I was like X2 already. So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
I was just like, "Okay, if you want to take the win, like go ahead. I don't want you to feel like I cheated you or anything." And like it was just super awkward. Like I didn't know how to
Wow,
tell
you
like,
just
"Oh yeah,
gave
that
him
was
the win?
No. We ended up playing it out. And then I ended up beating him. And then he was like, and then I was like, you know, at any point you could take the win if you want, because like I'm probably not gonna be playing anymore anyway. But he was like, no, it's all good. Like I think you're fine. But it's like
yeah.
it just creates such awkward moments when that
Yeah.
happens because you don't
Mhm.
want to
I
like
don't want the other player to feel bad.
yeah, or like almost like an accusation kind of like.
Mhm.
Okay.
I feel like that's a big thing why people don't really like to
Just
call a
makes it awkward.
judge for small things. Like it just makes it
Yeah.
awkward. But then
For
I
sure.
think if we shift our mindset a little bit, like because there are people that like I'll talk to and it's like, yeah, my opponent was like his hands were like off the screen so much, and it's like, okay, well at that point you should call a judge, like even
Mhm.
if it is like a little awkward.
And I think it
Um,
needs to be more crucial when if you're like X1
Oh yeah, for sure.
or X2 really late in the tournament,
Yeah.
right? Or
X2 is
X0.
still- yeah, I was gonna say it's
Yeah.
still a
But, like,
decent score.
Just record your games. I don't know if how you record your games or if you record your games online, but I have
Yeah.
a YouTube video like how to set that up, And oh my god, I'm still I'm still plugging away on this, dude. It's so I
No, it's
tell
good.
people to
It's a
do
good
this.
resource.
I tell people to do this one because it's so you can see me like hit like this down here, the game, but it's recorded and it looks really nice on another screen. I don't know if you've ever watched my Twitch yet, right? But Saucy can see that it's pretty decent live.
Yeah, it's really good quality. It's almost like you're in the same place because they're both very clear to watch.
That's good.
This is really smart.
Yeah.
I need to do that in my next online event.
Yeah, recording your games is probably the biggest tip. Like, because it just prevents cheating. Like, you could look at it. It's always nice to look back at games.
It also reassures your opponent that you're most likely not cheating. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
You can be like, hey man, you can go back in my game. We can go look at it right now. You know?
Yeah.
And talk about it because.
Yeah, I mean, have you guys seen the things on Twitter with like Stillman Steve? Like all the he has like all the cheater drama there.
So there's that. I showed Saucy this with Ashby as well. We showed him the one with the Whitebeard versus Whitebeard, and then the Kinemon versus Zoro, right?
Yeah.
There hasn't been like a third one.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the same people. That's why.
But yeah, it's just really funny. Well, it's not that funny to hear about it, right?
Yeah,
but
it sucks.
It's just
where do you see this stuff? Because
it's usually on Twitter.
I didn't get on Twitter until I saw this. Basically, I showed you this live.
Follow some guy.
Do you remember when I showed you this live where the guy put down an extra card after he emptied his hand?
That one was so crazy. I did not like. How did you like? The other ones are like. Okay, like I guess you could think you could get away with it. You think you're slick, but you emptied out your entire hand. There's nothing there, and then all of a sudden this Atmos just comes out of nowhere.
I thought it was a joke at first.
Yeah, me too. I was like, I thought they were like friends or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he just burned his friend.
Yeah, but then it's like
the thing is, the guy he could have. The funny thing is, he could have won that game because he discarded an Atmos in order to save his Marco, and then the guy was just like, because he swung Whitebeard, and then he's like, oh, I'm just gonna swing for 16 instead of going for like any other play, right? But he's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have kept that. Maybe I should have kept that Marco.
Yeah, and I mean that's like a high level play thing too, where it's like, I mean, I'm not living next turn. Like, why do I need this Marco?
True. Yeah, like why?
Well, I think he kept the Marco to attack with the next turn. In case the opponent then plays down a Marco, and
that's true. There is a lot of mind games that go
has
on.
like 2 Dawn left in order to use Rad Beams, right?
But mostly it's super tough though, because I feel like with so much open Dawn, like you have to be so careful, especially while playing. That's the one thing that I learned playing Whitebeard, which is like. A lot of people think it's like a no-skill deck, but it actually teaches you a lot about endgame because you have to be super efficient with your countering at the end of the game. Yeah. And you have to be super efficient with your Dawn management at the end because then, like half the time you are going, it's either you win the game here or you lose. So it's like...
Did you find it stressful being in that situation every game?
I did at first when I started playing Whitebeard, but then once it was actually I think Garrett when I was listening to his podcast, and he was saying that the way he thinks about it is like, oh, I'm just gonna take all of this life and then look at like these 12 cards in my hand and like, oh, these are the cards that I'm gonna win the game with. After I started thinking about it like that, it made so much more sense, and it was like less of it like. Didn't kill the interaction between me and my opponent, but it made it more of like a puzzle than like a game that I had to win. So it was like
you just, you're gonna win. You just need to figure it out.
Yeah, like there's some math that is involved that lets me win this game.
Okay, that's super fun actually. I never thought about it like that. Like as a blue player, when you play Whitebeard, it's like all you see is what's across from you, and it's like it just seems super linear.
Yeah,
but if you put it that way,
when I actually went back and played Doflamingo, I did so badly at my locals because there were just so many situations where like I would have 2 or 3 life and I would think I'm okay because I'm not at 0, so like I would just die like that turn. So then that's where I learned
how that can change your mindset. you
Yeah,
know, like,
100%.
Hmm.
like I actually struggle playing red
Me
because
too.
Yeah.
I've been playing blue forever. So when I play red, I'm just like
I can't play Zoro
taking
for
all
the
the
life.
damage.
Yeah.
I
I'm
can't
like,
play
"Oh,
Zoro
more
either.
cards?
Yeah.
Okay." And I'm like, I'm adding cards in my hand, and then I realize like, oh shit, I don't have any blockers, and I'm gonna die, you know?
Yeah, I think Zoro is the
Terrible.
hardest deck that I've played because I feel like with Zoro you really need to think about like your 1-for-1 trades, but I'm like in my head like a Dofi or like a green player, I'm like, okay, what's like the value thing to get out? And then it's like there is no value play for Zoro. Like you either trade 1-for-1 or you pop something on board with like a Vista and
That
like an
or you get
Atama.
lucky, you go like Curly Naomi +1.
Yeah, or you just high roll
That's
your
your
hand.
value play.
So it's like
I think,
it's stuff like that.
dude, Zoro is gonna be a menace next set. They're getting another search engine. Oh my goodness.
Getting Fire Fist.
gonna be
Fire
insane,
Fist
dude.
should have been locked behind like Ace or like Whitebeard Pirates.
Oh my god, that card is so busted. I just
Yeah.
got fire fisted today. Like I
What
was
does Fire
playing
Fist do?
Dofi. He killed my 4K Dofi and a 5K.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my.
it's a three cost event, discard one event, and then you KO something that's 5K, and then you KO something that's 4K. And then I think it has a trigger too, where it, like you
For
KO
one.
a 5K.
That's so
For
frustrating.
two.
It's insane. And I think that card is like the poster boy of like this is the red problem, that it's just like red just has so many generic tools, and like there's almost no weakness to playing red. Like
It's a 3-cost event, discard an event.
yeah,
And killed 2 cards.
Yeah.
it's
Pop
pretty
the
nuts.
I'm like
It's
thinking about
pretty
that so
dumb.
hard. I'm like, I guess they can't play around that. All my things
Yeah.
is really
Yeah, somebody
small.
did that twice on me in one game, dude. I was so bad. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Every time they would kill a Dofi and like a 4-cost Warlord,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's also why I started shifting away from Dofi, because there
Yeah.
are like the occasional like Dofi tops like in Asia,
Mhm.
but I mean like if you have Zoro players running around, it's like it's too hard because then
Well,
that
that
matchup,
was our good matchup before, but now because
Yeah,
of that
exactly,
card,
like-
now your field's just gone.
your
I guess
field's
I'm gonna
gone.
wait until I make judgment. I want to see
Yeah.
what it's like.
I'm still
you
gonna try
know?
to make Dofi work, right?
Oh, for sure.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, I already have my list ready.
I'm
actually.
jumping. Yellow's my favorite in real life color, right? So
Oh,
I'm
that's
probably
gonna be
gonna
do that on your
trouble for
tournament.
the
I'm
onlines.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
we could talk about that too. I was talking to
Mhm.
Orange Samurai about that,
The,
and
the every
online?
time
What is
in
that?
the judge discords,
yeah,
they
I
it's,
think
it,
they need
ask
to
every
make
week.
a online errata for the card, as in when you play in webcam tournaments. It should be, if you look at your opponents, both players see it.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that's the main consensus right now. That it's like if you look at your opponents, it's just common knowledge. I think that's the
Mhm.
best way to do it,
Yeah,
because you don't want to completely ban a whole archetype, like
can't.
or a whole leader.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's gonna do with trust of your opponent, right? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like
It's too
if I
much.
say, "Hey, Adrian, look away for a second,"
Yeah,
grabs a card.
I think
Gum
one person
gum.
came up with like
Webcam.
I think one person was like, literally, we should have a judge come in whenever. I was like, every single turn. They swing every single turn.
I think a way around it too is before you use the skill, you say, "I have 5 cards in hand. I have like I don't know,
Yeah.
like skill."
But there's still
okay. I don't know. You could like switch cards, but that's like weird,
Yeah.
right? And
It's tough. That one's a tough one.
It's gonna
And
be
it kinda
interesting how
sucks.
they judge that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they
situation.
might do that where it's online errata, but like, does that kill the deck? No, doesn't.
I
kill
don't
the
think
deck.
so.
It does
Yeah.
make it a little different, you know. Like let's say worst case scenario. Okay, let's say the top of their deck is a jet pistol, and they see it's a jet pistol, and I say put that to the bottom of your life. I said life, right? Yeah, sorry. Put that to the bottom of your life. Now they know what's gonna like what okay, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the worst part about it though is there is a lot of poker stuff. Like if you were to say like, oh, put a jet pistol or something with no counter at the last life, your opponent doesn't necessarily know that that's no counter. But then like if you do it so both of you know, now they could play around, oh, I don't have counter in life like for my last one, so I need to counter out these. That's my only problem with it. Like so it does make yellow like objectively worse online than in person, but I still think it's way better than like
not playing it at all.
yeah, not playing it at all.
Yeah.
You know
and-
what they can do to solve that issue actually is if they let people play on the simulator, because that's what will make
Yeah.
I am not a fan of this. I'm the simulator. I think
I've got
Really?
mixed feelings about it too.
But that's a good solution.
I think the
though.
game
It-
is harder to play on the sim as well.
Yes, yeah. I think it's
Oh.
harder to play. I think people play like dumber on the sim. Like I know I do. Like I just have like we call it sim
Yeah.
brain.
It
Like
makes good players bad and worse players
Okay.
worse.
yeah.
No, I feel you. It's definitely a different experience.
Yeah,
Very
I just wish they had like something maybe similar to Pokemon where in the packs it leads to like some online simulator and then you could run tournaments on that.
Mhm.
Because I think that's a pretty good way. I think that's a pretty good way they could still get the product. Like people
Mhm.
could still buy product, which is what they want, but then you could still have like an online simulator thing going on.
I feel like when they do the simulator, if they do a simulator right, like Dragon Ball, it's just them scraping the bottom of the barrel with cash.
Oh,
right. That's
Yeah, for sure. Like
That's how I
I don't
see
see I don't see them
I hope
making.
they expand on that because they already have the infrastructure, right? They have the demo. that
They have the
everybody-
demo app is nice. It's really
Yeah.
good.
They just have to update it with
Yeah.
new cards, essentially.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
it.
maybe instead we'll all do it on
that hard.
Tabletop Simulator. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And actually, this game is really good for mobile. Like I think this game would have a great mobile port. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty
my
easy.
my friend
You
loves
could play
mobile.
on
actually.
Yeah.
Master Duel. You could play
It's-
mobile on this game.
Yeah,
Like
I think this
Yu-Gi-Oh! is the
game may
most
be a little
updated
too long for a
game.
mobile game, though.
that's
right?
true too. Yeah, it's a little long.
Well, I mean, it's best of one format, so I guess it depends on how the tournaments will go
Well,
on a mobile game.
I'm talking like not even that. I just mean like games take long to do. You know.
Oh, you're saying
That's
it's
why
not
things
as,
like
pick up and go.
oh my gosh, like when I'm commentating my tournaments, my own games, I have to put it in 2x speed, and some things I have to like
Yeah.
skip because I'm like, okay, I'm thinking. All right,
Yeah. Just
now
trying to
I
fill
attack
time.
with 6. Just what it
Right.
is.
You just speed it up, man.
I speed it up by
Yeah,
2 and I skip.
It's
So,
awkward sometimes when you have to like commentate on a video that you go to X speed and you're just sitting there and
Yeah.
you're like trying to come up with something
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah,
That's the most difficult part for me when I'm commentating those videos.
Really?
yeah. And then you
Oh.
get the comments that are like, "Whoa, why doesn't this guy just hurry up? like why are you guys thinking for so long?"
That's what kills most games. But I think people
Yeah.
like 2x speed so they can see what I did. Right?
Yeah.
There's definitely people on my locals. Shout out to this guy, Ro. Okay, he picked up Doflamingo because of me. Because I went 8-1 right at a big tournament, and
Yeah.
he thinks it runs really well. But he like sometimes just randomly struggles. But I tell him maybe you should play sober, because all these players they can't help but go out and like go smoke in between rounds. And I'm just like, have you tried playing sober? Because you tell like, oh, I think I messed up because I thought I would be fine, but I didn't counter out of it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was
Those
like,
little mistakes.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
man,
yeah,
that's
you
not
can't
a-
exactly play
that's
this game.
problem.
Play
You
this game in a weird state of mind, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, but it's weird though, because some players actually like play better when they're high. I'm from SoCal, so people here smoke all the time.
Yeah,
and
they're just used to
there's
it.
some players,
Yeah,
like,
it might be like
how they're-
nerves too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy,
Yeah.
no. I think he's
That's
just recreationally,
Who, me?
No, not you, this
Oh,
other guy,
Oh, okay, well, me too. But I can't play when I'm high. I'm like terrible. I take super long turns when I'm high.
Yeah.
Wouldn't know. Never
Yeah.
been high.
It's just tired too. Like I
Just
think
don't get high.
You can get much higher.
Oh God. Let's go to the next topic. Let's move on.
No, this is a good topic. Oh, something I haven't talked about yet on any of my
What?
podcasts. And I want to bring this up as like a little story, and I'll probably bring it up all the time. And it comes to tournaments, locals, and store credit. Okay.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have any story. Why would this be interesting at all? Right. This does not sound like an interesting topic. Store credit. Who cares? Right.
I have a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You tell yours and then I'll tell mine. And you can't outdo mine. But go ahead. It's just...
Oh, my story is not that interesting. It's
Yeah.
not really like a story even. But no, I get where you're coming from with like the credit and stuff. Like, because for me, I travel a lot, right? I go to so many tournaments in different locations. So I have like store credit in like so many different
Yeah.
stores, right? And it's so hard to keep track. Like I'll write it down, but sometimes I wish like they could cash you out on the credit. You know what I mean? Just give me cash or something.
I mean, they
But
can only
that's
give
just
you
my
product and you can just resell it to somebody, you know.
Yeah.
Like
That's true,
my
but-
locals has like One Piece product. Like singles.
the thing is like you don't always want product. Like
Yeah, that's the
right
that's
now
the
I wouldn't
trouble.
want to buy OP2. I'm waiting for OP3. I have all the cards for OP2,
Oh,
you know?
yeah, they let us pre-order boxes if they have them, but
Yeah, that'd
So-
be cool.
I don't know when it was. It was definitely during pre-release time. Okay, this guy at our locals, and this is the guy who makes the Loser Dawn, by the way, right?
Oh, okay.
And so
Awesome.
I remember I got so much store credit because I turned in like the event packs to people there, you know, the store, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll give you more for store credit for the event packs." So I did that, and I have like $300 store credit at the time. I'm like, "Oh, I'm balling, dude. Jesus, this is really big,
Smart.
right? $300
I've done
store
that.
credit." And this guy is like, oh, I used to have $10,000 store credit here. I'm like, what? How? Oh, they bought my car. Like they traded in for store credit, and I'm like,
Oh, wow.
really? When was that? Oh, last
It is a
fall.
car.
Last
Oh my
fall. I'm like, oh, and
God.
how much do you have
That's it.
left? And he's like, oh, it's gone. I'm like, what? That's even worse.
Wow.
So
Oh my god.
he says it's all gone. I think he spent it on like
So he
a bunch of
traded his
product.
car for some
Like he
cards.
bought like Weiss Schwartz, Magic the Gathering.
Oh yeah, Weiss could get
One
super
Piece.
expensive.
They got really degenerate with One Piece pulls, you know?
Yeah.
And it was my favorite thing. There's these guys at my locals, right?
It's so crazy.
Not a lot of
dude.
people love these two guys, right? They're the kind of guys that make you feel bad if you win. That kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so he's
Those
so this
people.
guy he's buying boxes. It starts getting degenerate, and this is early OPO1 where the game hasn't blown off too much, but it's still blown up, right?
Yeah.
And he's just buying box after box, kind of, and it's kind of awkward. They're at an upmarked price too. So why are you
Yeah.
doing that? And then so I just go. I always have this thing: 2 packs a day. My mom says always buy 2 packs a day because she smokes.
Their way.
So I go buy 2 packs, and they have a 3rd pack in there. And he's like, "You want to buy all 3?" And I'm like, "Oh, fine, sure, I'll clean the box out." So I buy all 3 packs. I get like a secret Yamato, and this guy was so tilted because he didn't buy those packs. He just bought like the boxes. It's so he was like so tilted because he actually really wanted that card. So
Yeah.
Oh,
so he's in that
dang.
friend group, but yeah, I've never seen anyone go through that much store credit. And this store,
That's
Kayfabe Cards,
insane.
will still
That's
brag
so
about
crazy.
about trading in store credit for a car. So
I would just
That
use
is
that every
insane.
time a new set comes out. I'd be like, just use my credit, buy me a case every
Yeah.
month for the next,
yeah,
you know.
just
Yeah,
trade in
for
your,
like the next 5 years
yeah,
actually.
trade,
like
trade in your
Yeah.
car. Yeah, trade in your car though. But he probably made
Do you
excuses.
think you would make your money back? I think you would though.
I think so too.
He's a
Depends
collector.
on how healthy
He's a
the game
collector.
is, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh, collector.
Yeah,
Like because
Yeah.
usually pre-orders for boxes are way lower than what they sell for like a week
Yeah.
later.
Mhm,
Yeah. Be like, the moment it opens, give me the opening price
mhm.
Yeah.
every
Yeah,
3
'cause
months, you know.
It's actually crazy to think about because when we were first getting into OPO1, my locals had pre-orders for
Mhm.
$65 per box.
It's
So
like,
and then now they're like $80. Like
Yeah, my
Yeah.
pre-orders are 90 now. That's
yeah,
and that's
so
low.
it's a lot.
That's low.
Yeah, that's on the lower side right now.
That's like
I pre-ordered
If
a
someone-
case for 1,000.
mhm.
Yeah,
So I don't know how much that is
It-
per box. Like
Pretty
83.
There's
crazy.
10 boxes, so that's 100 per box. Right?
yeah.
Is there 10?
No, it's
I think there's
12
12.
in a case.
12.
Yeah, in a case.
Oh, that's
So
really
it's
good.
like 83 or
Yeah.
something per box.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going up.
Yeah,
It's
but
insane.
and my locals, the one that sells for 90 that's really nice, but some ones have like 120, 140. I'm not
Oh,
mad
yeah.
at them at all, right? About for doing it. It's just a different game now, right? But
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
much of a
it's
box
sucks.
buyer. anyway.
And
Yeah.
I feel worse for like your new players, like trying to get into the game.
Yeah,
Doesn't
for
know
sure.
anything, doesn't know where to buy stuff. They're just trying
Well,
to get boosters in the
the-
locals.
The weird thing is that some people do complain about the store, like about that because they upmark the boxes, but they sell singles too, right? So
Yeah.
people like they have a computer and it's like how you would go to like a shop and order cards, and then they
Yeah.
brings out
No,
your
but
order.
what I'm saying is like the cost of the packs themselves. You're paying like
Yeah.
$6,
It's-
$7, $8.
I don't recommend buying
$10 a
packs.
pack.
I don't
Yeah,
recommend
and
buying
Like
packs.
the
the
new players
boxes.
seem to be like,
Yeah.
I cannot play this game.
Yeah.
and
The
afford it
boxes,
financially.
if you get in early, are actually like I think the cheapest way to get into the game. I
Mhm.
think
Yeah,
overall,
great.
like I've bought like 3 boxes per
Mhm.
set, like for OP1 and OP2, and
That's
I've
a
had
healthy
no
number.
problem. Yeah, I've had like no problem building every deck like
Unless
for the
Unless you're like
format.
building black where you need 4 secret
Yeah,
rares.
building black was a
Yeah.
lot tougher. I
Mhm.
got very lucky. Like I pulled
Mhm.
like a ton of Kuzans, but I think the secret rares alone, or like the secret alts, like if you get like 1 or 2 good ones,
Mhm.
like you could usually trade them for like every staple card
yeah.
you need.
For
Like
sure.
I would suggest to anybody though, get to know someone at your locals that's buying a bunch of boxes.
Oh,
and
for
buy
sure.
their extras because it's a
Yeah,
huge
some
collector's
people just
market.
give it away. Like
Yeah,
Great
it's a
point.
huge collector's
Like
market.
I'm like just ask them for a master set of every card and give them like whatever.
You don't
a
need
deal with
that. Just get what you need. You know.
yeah, there's a couple guys at my locals
Well,
like
I like to have everything. I don't know. I like to try all the decks.
yeah, or like try every card.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get into because I don't think I've ever bought singles before for this game. Like
Oh
I
really?
can't. Yeah, I've never bought singles.
You never
just
got on
trade it.
TCG Player and had to grab a couple cards. Oh.
No, it's like it's always been well because I got lucky and I was in it like day one. So then like it was like 3 boxes plus every structure deck, like 2 of every structure deck. So it's like that's plenty to like build a deck. You just need
Yeah,
to trade for that.
I feel like a lot of people got into this game in January a little late.
Oh, for sure. Like
And-
after the hype.
Yeah, they're like asking me for queens. I'm like, I'll
Those
do
are
you a big
20
favor.
each.
I'll sell you 4 queens for really cheap. And they're like,
Yeah.
thank you, brother. So
I was
Yeah, and
so
the
lucky
prices
when I
are
got
so
in. I got in
fluctuated.
in December, like
Yeah.
right before the rush.
Mhm.
And then when I saw them, like, "Ooh, thank God I'm not in your position."
Crazy. Yeah, because people were coming to me. They were like, "This game is so hard to build and get into. It's expensive," and I was so confused about it because I just did
Yeah.
not look up any singles. Like,
Yeah, but it's true though.
yeah,
Well, the thing is, the people they're trying to use to get alt arts, and it's kind of ridiculous.
that's
Like,
true too.
And
Yeah,
I'm like, don't play alt arts if you're gonna complain
Yeah.
about it.
this card game compared to other ones is actually on the cheaper side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Compared to Weiss, it doesn't even
Weiss,
compare. Weiss
Yu-Gi-Oh is like super bad.
super expensive to foil out your
Yeah.
deck. I foiled out a Angel Beats deck
Mhm.
at one point, like years
Respect.
ago when Angel
E-
Beats first came out in English.
Mhm.
I'm like, why did I do
Even
that? It was, like,
non-foil
the
Weiss can be
biggest
expensive depending on the
yeah.
set.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I remember there was like that. I think because I don't play Weiss, but there have been moments like where me and my friends have like tried to get in it, and I think I wanted to build like a Sword Art Online Alicization deck.
yeah.
And like there was like one of the Alice cards was like $60 each,
Yep.
and you needed 4 of it, and it was
Mhm.
like that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, like if we had, but we don't have anything like that right now in terms of One Piece. Like
Too.
we have the Jinbeis, the Bartos,
Well,
but like those are decks that you
yeah.
don't need.
We're
to
limited
play.
by 6
Right.
colors, which is good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then leader cards, which everyone's gonna have a copy of, at least a vanilla leader
Yeah.
card. It's literally as all the alt chasers because the
Also,
anime is
like,
popular.
The
Yeah.
pull rates, I feel like for Bandai, their
So
cards
good.
are more generous.
Yeah.
So
Because then
there's
you
more
you
out
crack
there.
open a box of Yu-Gi-Oh or like 2
Mhm.
boxes of Yu-Gi-Oh, and if you say like I'm hoping to build a deck out of this, they'd
luck.
call you crazy. Like they
Right.
like it's impossible.
Good
But you
luck.
crack open 2 boxes of One Piece and say I'm trying to
Oh.
build a deck out of this.
Yeah.
100% you probably can do it. Like
Mhm.
so
the
that's
most part.
what's really good about this game is like I can pick up like a box or 2 and then like I could be well on my way over to like a competitive deck.
I
Whereas like
think
with
that
other
definitely
games
has
it's not
like
true.
a route as to why like more players enjoy this game is
Yeah.
because cards in single form are readily available.
Yeah.
You just
Mhm.
need to know where to find it.
Yeah.
You know, people just need to advertise CCG Player because they do some work with the singles.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Mhm. You know,
Yeah.
but people buy this game. I don't know if you have a TCG player. I do, right? People buy this game like crazy. I had a friend, he
Do they?
ended up selling all of his alt art stuff, so he only has minimum rarity now, right?
Mhm.
And a friend just convinced him to do that. And yeah, people
Sell
buy this.
my
It
alts.
sells immediately. It sells so
Yeah.
fast.
Really? You
Mm.
just put it as like the lowest, and it's
You just put it
Yeah,
at,
it'll-
you just match the previous price minus by 1 penny. It lets you do that, right? And
Yeah.
then it sells like so fast.
wow.
Especially
I need to
alts.
open up a shop.
Alts definitely sell very, very quick. I have 2 choppers incoming. I need to sell 2 choppers, right?
Yeah, the treasure cup. Oh, they're so hard to get rid of. Like after every YouTube video, I'm like, guys, if you're interested, let me know.
Did
Bro,
your,
what's your,
did your cards come in damaged at all?
So the treasure cup cards, my chopper is like slightly warped, but other than that, I think they're fine.
Because
Like
I
I
don't
got
know if
pretty
you
lucky.
saw like people's Zoros and Usops had like damage marks on the back of them.
Yeah, my friend was that happened with my friend, where like his cards were like a little bit damaged, and that sucks. Like that sucks so
Yeah.
bad. The packaging for that needs to be a lot better.
Imagine
I
how
heard it was-
shitty of a feeling that
I heard
is
it's not
to
even
it.
traveling. It's people were like at a competitive event. They handed him the card and it was damaged. And
Wow, that's even worse.
Yeah, like
I think it's because like I think they need what Bandai needs to do, and I don't know 100% behind the scenes, but I've heard that their printing company, even though it's English, it's in Japan.
mhm.
So there's like a lot of that's why it was so hard to get like our reprint set, because there's like a lot of shipments and customs. So it's like it's super difficult. And I think if they want this card game to like keep blowing up and keep going, they just need to have some like English or like NA like thing going on
Like,
in the States.
Yeah.
business.
Or
Yeah.
Jamaica, Bandai.
Yeah. Bandai.
Bandai made it.
Sucks, but I feel like part of it too is like the cost, right?
It's
the
yeah.
cost of
Yeah,
business here in
doing
the US.
something like that, outsourcing
And
it
then-
is probably difficult.
Also, like you notice it on the card stock as well. Like One Piece cards for me, if you grade like an alt, right? You get it graded. Almost always comes out as like a 9 or a 10 if you
Oh yeah, for sure.
pull it from a pack, right? Because
Yeah.
the quality is so good with this game.
Yeah, it is.
I'm scared that if they open one in the US,
Like
it might
it'll
affect
go
the
down.
quality, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Yeah, there's a lot of hard things to kind of deal with.
Do any of you have graded stuff? I don't. Just
I have the super pre-release Luffy graded.
Oh.
Yeah, that was like one of the
are you
first
gonna-
cards I got graded.
Are you gonna get your serialized Luffy graded?
I'm thinking about it. So the problem with mine is I don't know if I did this, but there is like on one of my edges, the card is like nicked like ever so slightly. Like there's like something sticking out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like, is it worth it to get it graded still? But it might still be worth it.
I think
We'll see.
I think it'd be
Send
cooler
it
to
in.
look at $4,000 than that.
Yeah.
might be.
Like-
You can break it, right? Worst comes to worst, you crack it open.
That's true. Yeah, it's still not too bad. And there's a card convention that comes around SF in like I think July, and where they usually have like Beckett and PSA there, where you could just give
Right
them your
on.
cards.
Dope. Makes it
So I might be
super
able
easy.
to do that.
What was your number?
I
Yeah.
think 171 was mine.
Oh, that's a good
You
number.
got 171?
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought they were ordered, but apparently
no.
they're random. Yeah,
How interesting.
yeah.
You got 170. Because I thought it was like we're counting up, and then once we get to 7, that's it,
No,
right?
it's
Yeah,
But
that's what I
random.
thought too. It's
it's
just
random.
I think
Well-
they get them in sets too, because
Yeah,
my
they-
friend got 170 and he topped
Mhm.
at the same tournament.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think it is the case. They like have
It's
it
probably like
together.
batches. Yeah.
In mine, it was like 450-ish to
Mhm.
like 500.
Do you guys
Yeah.
remember when that Australian thief happened? Right?
Oh,
They-
I heard
they-
about that.
They still don't know
yeah.
what cards they were, with serialized numbers. You know,
Oof,
like
that is
they
Oh
never-
my god, I know, so dumb.
it's so people are. It's like, well, like there's no
What
way
do
to
you do then?
tell.
yeah.
You know?
There's no way to know. That stuff is gone forever.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the
And-
players.
And you could sell it too and no one would know.
Yeah,
Like,
they'd be like, dude, I got a
Yeah.
good deal, 3,500 for this. Can you believe it?
yeah. And it's just like You can never tell if that's the person who stole it. That really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe like nobody saw it happen. How did nobody see this happen?
I
That's
don't.
So much stuff.
I would say that's on a Bandai.
Yeah.
So no, whoever running the org, you know,
Staff,
you don't
right?
like have it anywhere where they could get it, right? It's
Yeah.
just it's not like asking
Like,
for it
how
to get
is it that
stolen.
easy?
Yeah, it shouldn't be
Right.
that easy. There should be
They
at
just
least an
have 'em, like on the
explanation.
stage lying there and
Yeah.
nobody's watching it. That's what I imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Some kid just like walked by and like, oh guys, you see that? That's all the
And the
prize."
the balls to do that. That's pretty nuts.
Fuck,
Like
I know, dude.
like, you
Imagine.
have a whole like it's like 1,000 people venue that like if they catch you doing
Right.
that, like
Your career's
you're
over.
done.
You're
Like
done.
Well,
You
apparently
go
it
to
was
jail.
casual for this person, you know.
yeah, so it's just take
Right.
it.
Nobody will want to play with you. You always have that rap.
It sucks. That's
Yeah.
the whole thing about the cheater thing too that I don't really understand. Like
well, it just ruins your
these-
fun. Like it just ruins
Yeah.
your fun.
and it just like I mean like when people at locals find out about it, like you're gonna have some sort of rap. Like it just why would you risk all of that?
People want to win, man.
Yeah.
People want to win these
It-
expensive pieces of cardboard.
Yeah.
You know, that's the issue with One Piece right now
Yeah.
because the pricing is so lucrative.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which I like. I like that.
I love
we
that part.
have-
Yeah.
I love that we have. we're like talking about it like
Oh, yeah,
it's
please don't change it,
it's
Bandai. Like, it's
such a good
amazing.
thing.
Yeah.
Like it's such a
Yeah,
good
Can't
thing.
wait till I
Right.
get my Luffy.
You'll
It's
get
gonna
there,
happen.
Bandai.
It's gonna
You'll
happen.
get there.
Let's
Yeah.
get it.
I'll send you my second one when I win it. No, I'm kidding.
Shout out to
kidding.
this boy, the sponsor of every podcast,
Once
Saucy.
we get smashed
know.
in Ohio, bro, I'm flying out to Ohio next
Oh,
month.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah, dude. It's
Nice.
gonna be fun, dude. Columbus is gonna be fun.
I
I wish I had went into the Peoria one that
Yeah.
opened recently. but
Will
it
to
was
win will also be there. So make sure
Which
you
one?
That's good competition.
yeah.
You're
Yeah,
talking
that's one
about
thing that I've
Ohio.
wanted to do. Like go into an in-person event, meet people.
Mhm.
Because you
Yeah,
can't
you'll
really
get
do
there.
that in the online. Yeah.
One thing
Yeah.
I'd like to try to be proactive about, and I like in between games of online, I go into another Discord and we'll just talk about, hey guys, it's just kind of like you're in person, you know, this happened.
Oh
this
yeah, for
happened.
sure.
So I'm doing that with the Worst Generation Discord right now, basically
Oh, yeah.
between games. I don't know if you're on there yet, right? But it's just their Discord that they have, they made for their stuff. And
That's cool. Is that
Yeah.
one the most active? When in terms of that?
there is for Discord servers. Let me see here. So there are. I'm trying to think how many people are on this server right now. It's kind of how do I tell this? There's
Yeah.
like over 300 people in the server for sure, right?
Okay.
It's super important to have like people in your corner when you're going through those events.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed, man.
And I
Yeah.
have my live stream,
Shout
which
out to you.
is cool, right? But
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
Um,
people cheering you on.
yeah, but it's offline. God, they need
Oh,
to have,
offline, it's you have to have
Yeah.
like a group of people there, or else it's so
You have to
tough.
have mental fortitude. Dude, I went to Montreal alone.
Oh,
went through
that's
go
8
listen to
rounds,
episode
bro.
So
1 if you have
hard.
time. You can hear his story.
sure.
It
Yeah,
has crazy
think I will.
ladies and.
I
He
feel you, dude.
made the
Yeah.
worst decision after worst decision after worst decision, you know, and then he ended up like getting top 4. What's
Yeah, I
paid
think I
off?
saw that list back then.
Yeah, you
What's
didn't play Love Mellow at the time, right?
Yeah,
I'm
no,
a
that-
hardcore Love Mellow
that-
person now.
No, that
Yeah.
I did that in Vegas. I didn't run any mellows when I top 16.
Yeah.
In Montreal. Oh yeah, I didn't run mellows.
Yeah, you
in
didn't.
Montreal either.
Yeah, you ran like extra. You ran Bon Clay for more 2K
Yeah, I ran
counters.
2Ks and I was like super aggressive with Dofi in the tournament. People like didn't expect it.
Yeah,
They
I
were
think
like,
I think I remember seeing your list and I tried it for 1 week and I could not do it. Like,
Really?
like yeah,
I
it
don't
was
know,
like
dude.
it
I
was
just
not
have a
clicking
different
with me.
playstyle, dude. Yeah, I don't always recommend my list because sometimes my playstyle kind of, you really have
Yeah,
to.
that's what I like about a lot of the lists though. Like
Mhm.
you like for some lists you can't just like pick it up and play it. There's like
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
like nuances to the list.
Yeah,
Like
there's a methodology to it. Like
Yeah.
you can't play Strawbeard the same as you play Boatbeard.
yeah,
you know,
and I
there's
have a lot of
methods in
people like a lot of my friends and everyone at locals is like trying the hybrid list that I played, and then like they're like it's so inconsistent, or like oh it's so hard, I'm so starved.
It's the most
But
consistent
then
deck in the game. Damn.
yeah, and then I watch them play, and they're like countering like 1K out. I'm like, oh no, you never do that. There's like you
They
never
just
do
don't know
that.
how to use your deck the way that you're used to using it.
Yeah, it's
So-
I think that's a lot.
That's why
That's
you
really
build
good about
that
this
deck,
game.
kids. You gotta
Yeah.
test. That's the only way you're gonna get better.
It's also hard for a lot of Doflamingo players because they don't have access to gym bays, you know?
So
So,
that's the tough one.
Then they have
They
to deal
won't.
with that. It's sort of the tax we have to pay, you know? It could be worse. You know, it could be like waifu tax, like other card
Dude,
games.
I got super lucky with my gym base. I went to Long Beach just for fun, right? I didn't even make it to the main event, and I was buying the packs there, the gym base for like $30 each. So by the time it went up, I didn't even realize I had bought like these cards already. And
it was like $40 for a week or two, I remember. And then I think one of my buddies, Alan, he's the one who topped last Saturday. He sold them, I think, for like $120 for all four, and that's insane to think about back then.
Yeah,
like
today, right?
Like I think they're sitting at like what, like 90 or something.
They may have dropped down back to 70.
Oh really? They dropped.
Well, more
That's nice.
tournaments come up online. People get stuff and they try to sell it.
Right,
and
when they see, like,
now
That's
kids getting
true.
popular again, so people want to play.
Yeah,
People
the
buying
Bartos.
The Barts.
The
going
Barts
up.
went from 20 to 70 in like a few hours. It was insane.
Mhm.
I think they're gonna go back up once.
Again.
Yeah, I think they're gonna go back up once the new event packs.
And
come
also
in,
set
though.
4. I think people are playing set 4 film stuff too. They're playing like
the
Doflamingo film. I'm like, what the
Dude,
fuck?
I tested that deck. It's so fun.
It's
you drop
insane.
so many cards, dude. You just have a huge hand.
I'm excited for OP3 for sure, but OP4 just looks like a crazy game.
I'm actually disappointed that OPO3 comes out in the summer because it's supposed to be like a popular time for people to play. But OPO4,
like OPO3, I'm excited for the new stuff, but I could definitely imagine it's probably gonna get stale a lot faster than OP2 did.
OP3. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
But I don't know. I think NA is actually pretty good at solving metas that Japan didn't, in my opinion. Because like in Japan they had like just all Kinemon because it was like there was just a lot of Zoro, and then our meta looks so much different than that. Like you look at nowadays, like you would be lucky to see like a Kinemon in like top 8.
Different meta.
Yeah.
How I see it, and I say this with Kek all the time, is like they kind of begin the meta. And we like move it,
develop
forward.
it. Yeah.
Well, we get the meta 3 months early to play around with it, but at the end of their meta, that's when our meta begins, and so we can develop off of that, right? It's a big disappointment. I think everybody would love to have a game where we release Japan and English at the same time. And so we're in the same meta. So then it would definitely bring forth, it wouldn't maximize, what can the game potentially be? What's the best meta? But it would definitely make at least those players that are a little more niche at deck build, that'd be a lot more fun for them. Right.
I think it'd be more fun for us, so because we're not always like 3 months behind, you know?
Yeah. And
like we should be at set 4 right now. I would be
and you get a lot of players, like especially at the start, where the regionals and the big tournaments at the start of the set are always way easier to win. Like if you're prepared, if you're like grinding on the sim, like you're probably gonna win that tournament compared to everyone else.
True. And you would imagine the meta wouldn't even be stale, right? Because everybody's figuring shit out. It's constantly like, changing. By the time we get the meta here in the US, it's like, okay, we know Whitebeard is broken, you know. It's like it's already predetermined. We have archetypes that are established.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these middle decks, this might be a more fun thing to do, right? Like Magellan and right. Like just Bandai doesn't like purple, right?
They hate it.
I feel like it's more of like these middle decks that don't do a lot. They're like almost aimed to be some kind of casual game, right? Where like we've thought about doing content like mirror matches, right? But like you play like Croc versus Croc, or Magellan versus Magellan, something like that, right? That'd be more entertaining to watch, to see, because people actually don't know that part of the game.
It's like when it's the worst. Like when I'm on or like when you're on a webcam and then they're just like playing like Magellan or Z. I'm like, I have no experience with this matchup. like you put a Zoro in front of me, you put like a Luffy in front of me, I'm like super calm. And then all of a sudden there's like a Z in front of me. I'm like, okay, well, this is way worse. Like I do not know.
Like, wait, you mean I don't have rush? This is terrible.
Like it's so rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
but there's a lot of surprise factor in this game, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I think it would make it more fun.
I play Magellan in my locals sometimes. It definitely is a surprise factor because they don't know what to do, right?
And Magellan's one of the hardest, like, I think, but I'm so surprised it hasn't. I'm actually surprised it hasn't topped since Tyler Bolin topped with it.
I
like
thought
not
about
even
playing
one
it as well, but then I go to locals and like I'll lose because I don't even send my brick. Like I send my brick and then they play Zoro, and I'm like, well, 90% of my matches are gonna be Zoro. So especially if I lose once,
true.
It's gonna be more and more Zoro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I think I do well with blue. I'm just gonna play Doflamingo. I really like Doflamingo anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dofi is in a good spot. And that's another thing about our meta that's really different than JP. JP almost saw no Doflamingo in OP2. But it's actually pretty popular here. Like if you teched cards in for it, no one would like I faced one Doflamingo per tournament, like for sure.
I faced so many Doflamingos, to be honest. Like, and I'm playing Doflamingo. One tournament I played 3. I'm like, how does this happen?
Oh my god, the mirror is so annoying too.
It's a coin flip. Did you go first? Do you have
did you go first? Did you have Mihawk? I had one where he went first. I saw 3 Mihawks. But he actually pressured me so I can only play 1. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
How did this even happen?
This really sucks in the mirror, man. You're like super unfavored. I just went through that same thing in a recent tournament and I went second. It is a grind. And I feel like he could have won it if he didn't like misplay.
Yeah.
You know? It's rough, man.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your deck that you're playing right now?
I bounce around. I think that's like one of the downsides, I think, of being like a content creator is like I'm trying every deck to make a guide of it. So like I know the basics of every deck. So like in my head I can play anything. But right now I'm kind of like landing on Kinemon or Whitebeard. Because last tournament I played Flaw. And it was like my first time playing Law. And yeah,
that was
I just did not.
First time.
I played it at the local the day before, and I won with it. So I was like, okay, like this is like honestly, we're doing pretty good. And then and then I just got rolled like my first 2 rounds. So like it was so bad.
I don't feel bad for you.
Yeah, no, the rounds that I won. Yeah, the rounds that I won, they were like not close. Like I could confidently say there was probably nothing my opponent could have played to get them out of that situation. Like Law is so busted right now.
They're playing a different game. That's how I see it. We're playing checkers while they're playing Yu-Gi-Oh. It's
so much. Like it's so much value. And the fact that you could just beat every deck is insane. Like,
I don't know. Maybe the deck, I'm just not used to the way the deck plays, but every time I play my Law deck, I feel like every turn I'm always stressed out. Like I'm trying to, there's always like a puzzle to solve. Every time
I find
think about it. Like,
if when I lose to Law, it's because they saw 1 or more 5-cost blocker loss.
Yeah,
you know, and
it's easy to get to that point too.
Yeah, and so it's like I'm always like, it's a solved thing. Just swing 5K at me and play these down, and I can't deal damage to you, bro. And maybe double swing.
Especially as Dofi, it's so hard.
Dude. It's gonna get easier next set because we'll have interaction. But
the Fire Fist makes it unwinnable for Law in some matchups.
Oh, thank God! Less Law. Let's go. Less Law.
The Marcos too. It makes it so difficult. Like Law still sees play, but I think that's just because it's the start of the format. People haven't like figured stuff out yet. They're always gonna stray towards the OP3 decks. But then like I think as time goes on, people are gonna figure it out. I think it was like I think it was Noah that said that like, oh, he thinks that Rebecca should be the best deck in OP4. People just have not figured it out yet. There's like too many options.
I've seen already a build with Rebecca. She's just pure black deck with Soja King. Like it's
yeah. And if you look at the cards, they're crazy. Like Kyrios is an insane card. Like in like almost unbreakable 5K at the start.
Rest your leader, rest him or something.
Yeah, like it's pretty crazy, and the things
I
you could
don't
do
know,
with it
man.
are
My
insane.
friend's been testing with Rebecca, and maybe it's because we're missing cards on the sim because he's
Yeah.
trying the sim, but he's not doing too good with it. But
Yeah.
Well, he plays the
I
sim.
know that, huh?
He plays the sim, so you know.
It's
Just
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
it's
feel like
it's
playing games that
tough.
play for him. Okay,
It's
makes things
super
easy.
tough.
Yeah, but I'm actually really excited for freaking Blurple Kaido.
Oh yeah,
On
Really?
54.
yeah.
That's the deck, dude. You get it.
It
You finally get your.
it
your
looks fun.
searcher.
I
It's
heard
such-
people what they're
Bro,
doing actually.
it's
They're
so
playing
fun.
blue package in blue croc.
yeah.
So
I feel like Blue Croc is actually a deck now because
yeah,
you
Yeah.
have the removal that you
Mhm.
need.
Imagine
You just
on
have
one
all the
turn you place
counters.
down the new big Kaido.
Yeah,
Bounce an 8 cost. Bounce a 3 cost. Use Croc skill. Bounce a 5 cost.
Yeah. because
That's
Blue's
pretty gross.
problem in the sets is that we don't have like a. I mean, like Mihawk is like a boss monster, but like you're talking about like Newgate, Kuzan, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Mihawk doesn't do
fair.
anything. Like
Yeah, fair.
like but then in OP4 you get Red Rock and Kaido. Like Red Rock says, okay, neither of us have boss monsters
Dude,
because if you go
Red
for that
Rock
play,
is so strong, dude.
Yeah.
It's gonna change blue for
Yeah.
sure.
I think
And I think the 10
the
drop
good blue
Kaido-
players, like it's
Yeah,
gonna be
It's our
it's gonna
time
be
to
good.
rise up. You know?
Yeah, because
It's
the
gonna
problem with
rise
blue
up.
is like it's a tough. You could top with it, but it's actually like really hard to win with blue. Like a turn. Has any blue player like first like
no, not
come first? I don't think so.
Not first.
I
They
got
don't have
third.
online
Yeah.
and they don't have a lot of top cut in online regionals. I would have totally
Yeah.
got first, you know, in mine. 100%, not
Yeah.
even a question.
We're
But you
this
know,
close.
they had to stop top cut, and I got 10th place, and I was on online regional. It was fine.
Yeah.
There was no
You know
Luffy for
what,
top
though?
8, only top 2.
I feel like I had a good chance of getting first though in
Yeah.
that tournament because the first and second place were Whitebeard and Zoro.
Oh,
I'm like, I
that's-
could beat these decks.
Those are good matchups. Yeah.
Yeah, but I actually lost to Zoro. The same Zoro that
Yeah.
won was the one that I lost to.
Yeah,
and
it's hard.
tough, dude.
Well,
mean,
I feel
if
like
they
that
curve-
matchup is
If they curve Nami into getting a Zoro to playing the Dan into playing Nami to getting
Yeah.
another Zoro, that's just the curve
too
is
much.
just gross. If
Yeah,
that
And I
curve-
feel like
I bricked
Whitebeard-
really hard.
yeah, Whitebeard is the equalizer in that for sure too. Because I feel like before, so if we had a Zoro that was like no Whitebeard, I feel like that matchup is like 60-40 at the very least.
Mhm.
But Whitebeard kind of puts it over to like 50-50. If they're a good Zoro player,
If they're
like,
a
they
very
will
good Zoro
pressure.
player,
Yeah.
yeah.
they'll pressure you correctly, and it's actually very difficult to like get any sort of advantage.
Really?
If,
Yeah,
if they go first, it's a lot of it. If you go first and the Zoro goes second, it's more like 70.
You're pressuring them.
Yeah.
Like, but then if they
Oh,
go
I
first,
see.
like what they can do, and I don't know if I should release this into the world, but because I played there was like a week or two where I played Zoro and I was
Mhm.
beating a lot of Doflamingos because the matchup, because I know what I hate in the Doflamingo matchup.
Right.
Like what'll happen is they'll go for your life,
Mhm.
and then once you're at 2 or 3 cards, they just go for your board. Because you're gonna counter out sometimes, and then once you're at like 3 or 2 life, it starts getting a little bit dangerous to counter.
Mhm.
You just
And
run
then
them
once you're
out.
at 2 or 3 cards, you just can't have a board anymore. And then 9 cost comes out, and it's like at that point it's like really difficult to come back.
That's interesting the way you put that. I've definitely experienced that in a tournament level. And I don't know if that was the cause of the loss, but
Yeah.
that's a really good
What
point.
usually ends up being my cause of a loss if they go first and they get an early jet pistol off an attack, and they
Ooh,
also
yeah.
curve out really well. And I'm like,
you can't
damn,
play
if you
around
didn't
jet
jet,
pistol
if
too.
you didn't jet pistol that out of life on like turn 2, I would have
Yeah.
probably been in an okay spot. But now I'm forced to like hard play like a Jinbei, and
Yeah.
then because you want to get a card out there and then use Dofi's skill so they can't
Yeah.
kill both units, right? They're
Yeah.
kind of stuck in a hard spot, right? Especially if you have a Love Mellow early. Having a Love Mellow on either your 5 Dawn or 7 Dawn turn, I have found to be really oppressive, where they just can't deal with two cards on your field, and you're just
Yeah.
heavily countering, so they can't. So if they swing with their characters are gonna die. That's my experience, and that's I guess Luffy it's
And, like,
even better, but
Also, like
Oh yeah,
the
Luffy.
Zoro
It's hard.
player, they like, or even Luffy, right? When they choose not to attack with their little bodies one at a time,
Mhm.
like they let them stack up, and then they go like all in one turn. It's a lot harder for you to like clear their board if you
Yeah.
go in that fashion.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think the worst scenario is like because then the way that I've seen it be played and the way I play it is usually I'll have something on the board and they'll just swing 5k into it, and I'll usually just let it go through. But then like if you do that, then they build. That's when they start building the board
Mhm.
where they're going to swing 5k either into a character or your life, and
Mhm.
you're kind of forced to counter out of it one way or the other. So it's
Mhm.
like really really tough.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just
And you have to
depends
be
on
really
what you're
efficient.
able. It just depends on what you're able to
Right.
get out at that point with Doflamingo.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a Jinbei, great, you can counter out, and they have to deal with it later. You know,
Yeah.
if it's a Boa Hancock and they have any rested unit, they're dead. They're done. That's the game's
Yeah.
almost over.
Yeah, it's
Unless they
tough.
just jet pistol, which they have to, right? That almost wastes the whole turn.
Boa's hard. It's a kill on sight card for sure. I mean,
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Whenever I
That's
summon out
it.
Boa, I'm immediately, my game plan is immediately like, what am I gonna do after I lose this Boa?
It's so interesting how a card can literally change the game for you.
Mhm.
Like if you're like, you could literally be focusing your opponent's life, and the moment you see a rested boa, it's like, all right, we're gonna pause. We're going straight for this boa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
it's really
people-
funny. I always tell
it's
people
funny
like
Too much value.
they're like, "What does
Some
it do
Dota players
again?"
choose to run less boa in like
Mhm.
in the beginning of OP2
Oh,
format.
yeah,
Like,
I
why
saw
would
that.
you do that?
There was one list that ran like 1, and then one list that ran like 0, and I was like,
And I'm like,
that's
why?
that's
This is the best card in
crazy.
your deck.
I had no. Look, here's the thing. I actually had that thought at one point as well, right? I'll tell you my thought
Yeah.
process and what changed it. So
Hmm.
every time I placed against Boa, I played against my brother, played red. He just jet pistoled it, right?
Yeah.
Or something, and it was just gone immediately. So I'm like, well, this card doesn't really exist, so why not just have like a 2k counter, right? Why not
Yeah.
just like it doesn't actually do anything, and and then I finally got one out. At one point, I attacked with it. I drew a card, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this thing's broken! This is actually."
Yeah.
And the where it got me is Ashby. I actually had a coaching with him. He coached me right before my tournament, and he's like, "Yeah, so you want to play 4 boa?" I was playing 3 at the time, you know, because I
Yeah.
actually wanted to play even less. He's like, "No, you play this because on you this turn, the thing is you're gonna counter out to save your Boa Hancock." Depending on situations, if they don't have a field, it's okay
Oh, yeah,
to let
for
it
sure.
die. But if they have a field and a card that is rested, it is okay to counter out as much as possible, so you can swing back with that boa and kill one of their cards with it as well. And that puts them in a bad situation. You just drew a card, and on top of that, they still have to deal with the Boa Hancock, right? The fact that the Boa Hancock's still there after you attack with it, you know, it makes
That's a
them.
fair point.
Yeah,
And also,
so
like,
tough.
when you have a boa rested on your field, it makes it better for you to counter out of it, because you know next turn you're gonna recoup whatever
Mhm.
card.
Yeah.
Like partially, right? What you use.
Even better when you could stack around it too. It's an insane card. It's
Mhm.
definitely polarized, super
Sometimes
polarizing
you get
in
a
a
weird
matchup.
spot where you'll have 5 cards in hand. And you're like, well, I'm not gonna be able to draw with this because it's a Gecko Mori on top of my deck. But you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
So
you
you
go
place
plus
Gecko,
1.
and then you have 6 cards in hand. And you're like, oh, I can't place a card right now.
Yeah, that's so awkward. Also, there's in like your 7 Dawn turn, if you've had Boa on the field, it's like, man, okay, so I have to commit 1 Dawn on Boa this turn.
Yeah.
I need 3 for my leader
That-
ability, and only have
that's-
3 Dawns, so I
that's where
better
my-
have a Dopey in my hand. You know what I
That's
mean?
where the extra Dawn for Love Mellow also comes in handy. On
Yeah,
that
like
turn.
Love Mellow, and then you could plan around it by
Yeah.
having like a Dofi stat.
Love Mellows almost
Right.
never come in ones,
Oh,
by
that's
the
true.
way. I feel they always comes in 2s.
They
or
always
more.
come. I had
Yeah.
a game where I looked at the top 5 stack, and it was literally 3-cost Dofi, 4 beams, and I was at
Mhm.
locals, and I was like, I was playing against
That's funny.
Whitebeard,
Yeah,
and I was
pretty
laughing
good.
so hard, and I was like, wait, I was like, ah, but then I was like, I'm gonna lose so much tempo if I
no
I keep
leader
this-
ability for the next
You
5
can't.
turns.
Yeah.
Honestly, you can't put
So
that
I
to the
was like-
bottom of the deck, though. Like,
It's so it was so rough. It was such a hard decision.
honestly,
then, like-
it's bad to have all 4, but you don't want to have none in that situation. I've had
Yeah.
a game. I'm playing against Garp. I only had 4 cards in hand. They were all 4 Love Mellows, and I'm
Yeah.
like, this is like the most.
I think
Against
the
some
play at
matchups,
that
it's just
moment,
so bad.
you just leave Dawn up and like stack it on one turn,
at the
right?
time-
you said turn skip against
At
Whitebeard.
the time, I needed to go wide against him. I had to go super wide against him, so I could
Yeah.
not. I cannot
okay.
afford to play a Love Mellow, like to have Don's
Yeah,
Love Mellow.
that's the
Yeah.
tricky part. Is Love Mellow is really good in some other matchups. Like I love it in green
Mhm.
because it makes their Odin plays like so much trickier.
Mhm.
Because I feel like in green, like I'll have Mihawks or like Dofi standing, and I'm like, there's an Odin on board. I don't want to turn this sideways because I'm just gonna lose it. But then you have a Love Mellow, and it's like, okay, everything's fine.
Yeah, and it saves it
Yeah.
literally saves your Mihawk the turn after
Yeah.
you play a Mihawk. If you don't have 2 Dawn up, they might just like use like their Whitebeard or Odin and swing like 14 at it, you know.
Yeah,
And so
Yeah.
if you have a
Smart.
Love Mellow, they're like, well, this is a waste, because I'm sure you've attacked a big card before and went,
Yeah.
wow, that was the dumbest thing I could have done. You know,
Yeah,
why
it's-
did I
that
do
is
that?
it's so
moment-
hard.
That is the moment where even if you don't have it, you just leave 2 Dawn up, and you're.
Oh
you're
yeah,
in
for
trouble.
sure.
I've
I-
done that
I-
before. Yeah, go ahead.
You
Adrian.
just
I've
gotta
left it
fake
up
it,
so many
man.
times.
Yeah, I've done that so many times. I don't run the event, but if I'm in a situation where I
That's so
need it,
bad.
I have it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you might have to leave 2 Dawn up in case you get one out of your life to save you.
Yeah,
But what you're saying is you're
100%.
mind gaming your opponent, and
Yeah,
it puts them in an impossible situation where they can't.
They have to guess.
They can't kill you.
Yeah.
I've definitely had a situation where I had no Love Mellow in hand. I had 2 life. I had 2 life there, right?
Yeah.
And my opponent has to go for game, and I just have 2 Dawn up, and he like thinks for a minute, and he just scoops. I had no
Yeah,
Love Mellow in hand.
I've been in situations like that where like I was playing against someone, and then they had 2 options. They could either go tall or go wide, and then I had 4 Dawn standing because I just didn't have anything else to do in the turn. I was like, okay, I had no Love Mellows in hand at the time, and he chose to go wide, and I was just like counter, and then I let him hit me the last 2. And I showed him my hand. I was like, I didn't even have Love Mellows. Like I didn't have these cards.
Mhm.
And then,
Yeah.
but then if he just went like tall, I would have
You would've
100%
lost.
just lost. Like
9K.
yeah, like so, yeah,
Yeah. Well, that happens with Love Mellows too. Sometimes they swing 5K, and you're gonna Love Mellow it because you want to draw a card too,
Yeah.
and it's like worth it. But it gets pretty funny. That happens.
yeah.
Counter a 5K with Love Mellow.
Oh, I hate it when they get
Feel
really
bad doing
smart.
that.
I hate it when they get
always,
really
like-
smart with it though. Like I
Yeah.
had someone. I had like I think I had 6 cards total, and I think I mentioned this in like one of my videos.
Mhm.
And he swung me 9, and I was like, "This sucks," because
Yeah.
if I block, like I want to block a 9
Mhm.
swing, because then he's gonna swing out with me next turn. I'm gonna take too much life, and then if I take the life, I'm even farther away from Mellow. So I'm
Okay.
like, It's
one
tough
one
So
thing.
sometimes.
tip, you guys, if they are showing 2 Dawn up and they're playing blue or any deck that has 4Ks, you swing 9, and that's
Mhm.
like the perfect number.
Yeah.
One thing I would suggest, Adrian, in that situation, and this is something I do a lot. Let's say they swing 9 at you, so they swing 9 at you. It's okay to give them to over counter to draw a card,
yeah, that's
know?
true too.
because at the end of the day, you're most likely going to draw a 1K or maybe
Yeah.
even a 2K, and especially if you know what the top card is. Especially if it's even
Yeah.
if it's just a 1K, that's 100% okay, because then you
Yeah,
have 6 cards in hand, 1K, Love Mellow, you get to draw a card, and it ends up being just fine, right? And
Yeah,
you're
true.
you dug a little deeper as well.
because then I do see that. Like if you're at 6, then you'll if you're at 6, you discard like 3+ Mellow. You're still at 4, so it's not too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah,
make up
and
for
it
it.
makes it
Yeah.
worse
Yeah.
for your opponent. They don't know what you drew. You could have drew a 2K, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
And it digs a little further than you want to dig, you know. So, especially
you
if you have more
guys-
Love Mellows.
So my question to you guys is then, if you have, this is not my question, but this is just a general question
Okay.
for everybody. Like when you have Love Mellow in your hand and 2 Dawn up, and somebody swings in, they have like, let's say they have like 4 attackers, and they have like 6 Dawn up, right? And they swung into you with like 2 Dawn on their leader, so they swung in for 7.
Mm-hmm.
And you have like plenty of counter power in your hand, but then you have a Love Mellow. Do you use the Love Mellow to over counter and draw the extra card and have
Ooh.
more little
It-
bitty counter power in your
It
hand? or do
depends
you
on the
guys-
situation, you know. Like
Yeah,
if you're gonna win next turn, you have to counter out efficiently. Then you just do the math with it. But there's
Yeah.
times where you don't even ever have to use the Love Mellow, even though you have the Dawn active, and you can have it for
Mhm.
next turn when you're gonna guard again, right?
yeah.
And
I think in that
happens to me a lot.
situation too, Like if there's a lot of attackers, like you could definitely get away with just like dumping your hand and then waiting for
Starting.
maybe like an inefficient like Love Mellow.
You
Because
just
Love Mellow for 7k is still pretty good.
Yeah, I
Right,
would say that's
it's not
fine
about
too.
that.
Yeah.
It just depends on what their board looks like, right? So
True.
you don't
That's
need
a
to
fair
draw a card off a Love Mellow. It's not needed, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
it's just a super bonus.
It's just makes your opponent frustrated when they see a 4K counter. That's basically it.
Yeah, especially if they swing 8. Like whenever they swing 8, I'm like, okay, this is way too efficient not to do.
Imagine you attacked in a way so that your opponent couldn't Love Mellow efficiently, and then they don't Love Mellow efficiently, but the next turn they have 2 Dawn up again, and then you're like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm in the same position. It's actually almost okay to make your opponent Love Mellow, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing happens with
Yeah,
Pump
that's
Gibson.
true.
If I
I
play
get
around
that.
Pump Gibson and they don't Pump Gibson me because I played around it, the next turn they still have a Pump Gibson in their hand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that happened to me against Black, and they had Shockwave in hand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I kept
that's the
playing
worst.
around the Shockwave.
You can't.
But he would
Yeah.
just always end
Yeah.
the turn with 2 Dawn up, and I'm always stressed out. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, just freaking use the card.
I always love like doing the play where like if I have like a 1 cost or like a 3 cost, like I'll just swing 1k into them and then just see what and then they're like so shocked. And some of them will go for like the bait. Like I'll swing with like a Perona or something, and they'll swing 5k into it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. that was not doing anything on my board. And then now it's like
Wow.
a blocker. So
It's just
you
so
could definitely-
obvious, too.
yeah, it's happened
That's smart.
sometimes.
I mean, I kind of want to
so
keep
funny.
those characters there most of the time. I can't think of a
That's
time.
like Smoker.
yeah, because if
like
you're gonna
that's
lose it
maybe the
anyway to
one drop.
Shockwave, like yeah.
Yeah, that's smart actually. Like whatever. If they take the
Well,
bait, then they
no-
take it, you know.
Another level strat here. Another level strat. If they swing under your leader, okay, you can still counter out of it.
Oh yeah.
So you can use a
still count.
shockwave to kill the other card. Right?
Yeah, I had that done to me with a Red Hawk, and it felt awful.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened? Say that again.
So I want to give you an example. Imagine
Like if you swing Raizo.
Yeah, imagine you're swinging under
Okay.
a character. You can still guard, even if it's not going to hit it.
Oh
Let's say
yeah.
Yeah. Let's say
I
they have
know
a
that from The Sims,
let's say they have a Raizo.
actually.
Let's say they have a Raizo and a Kiku, right? They swing with I guess this doesn't make sense. They swing with Raizo first, right? And you say, okay, even though they're swinging 4K or 5K, you can still have the chance to counter out of it.
Yeah.
You know, so you could like ditch a card. So you would use the impact wave, 4K counter, kill the Okiku.
Yeah.
How are you reducing Okiku's cost? Oh wait, no. I'm just
Kiku's a
kidding.
3.
He was 3, yeah.
Yeah,
I actually think that scenario is a pretty that's a pretty accurate representation of what would happen. Like if you want the draw first, or like if you value the draw more than the Okiku swing, that's like probably what you would do.
yeah,
Because you can rest both of them.
yeah. So,
But yeah, you definitely can do that.
not saying that you should do it right away, but at least think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because it was the same thing. I played this card game called Card Fight Vanguard. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Card Fight Vanguard or played it at all, Adrian?
I've definitely heard of it. Some of my friends have played it. I've never played it myself.
There's this format. It's called Premium. You have every card, okay, in the game, and there's something called G Guardians, and it basically flips cards up in your extra deck, right, to use the skill. And so you'd have people, you'd want to swing so you can get cards. Because usually when you swing, you draw a card or something, right? You reveal the top 2 cards of your deck.
Yeah.
And so basically my deck was built around, if you attacked me, I would use my G Guardians to flip all the cards up in my extra deck. So then I can use my big bounce monster because it requires cards face up in my extra deck, right?
Yeah.
And basically the strategy would be they don't attack. Like they have to play around it and then maybe kill me all at once. But I would just have all the
trouble.
things. So then they go, then like, I'm just gonna pass turn. You're like, okay, it's fine with me. I'll just get there naturally.
Yeah.
Right. But that's sometimes what you have to do in like a mirror match. You have to like not attack.
Oh my god, I hate thinking about those matchups like where you just have to not swing because that was a big thing when going into OP2 because everyone thought it was going to be Kinemon matchups, and the one thing that you never do in the Kinemon mirror match is you don't swing first. Like the person that swings first like almost always loses is what I've heard. Yeah. So
because they're the ones that are starting the trade. Of, like, basically getting attacked into.
Yeah, so it's just like, and what's funny is you'll win a lot of mirror matches like that. because a lot of people there, because I was I was watching a game with it was Kinemon versus Kid last week, and then it was like 5-0 life. Like Kinemon had 5 life, and then he just bunkered, and then Kid player just bunkers up with 8 cost Kid, and then every single time I looked back, it was like he had like more, like the Kid player just had like 20 cards in hand. Kinemon player just like
bodies and like
so and that's like having a good understanding for the matchup, like because I know the Kin player, we don't have a lot of green players at our locals, so I know he probably was very inexperienced and was like, because when I heard him talking about it, he was like, I had him at 0 life. I almost had him, and in my head I was like, I don't think you ever really had him though, like, to be honest, because then the bunker Kid is there, and then he has like 15 cards in hand to defend it. It's too much.
Yeah, there's no way you can deal with that.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that game all too well, obviously playing Doflamingo.
And that's the hardest part.
It's the worst, dude. It's not fun. It's terrible. It's like, God, I feel like I'm in pain playing that matchup every time. It's so hard.
It's the trouble with the Doflamingo.
I think mirrors are one of the more interesting parts of the game.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
It's definitely not boring. That's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of skill expression comes from mirrors, and that I feel like that's why people hate playing mirrors so much. Is like it really flexes your fundamentals.
It depends on the mirror. Kid versus Kid Stonewall mirror is absolutely unbearable. That's why you don't play. A lot of people don't play Kid. I don't play Kid because of that. Right.
Also, I feel like certain mirrors have just this coin flip.
They're super sacky sometimes,
right?
The law mirror, I feel like, is one of the most sacky mirrors. Like, because I've played a couple law mirrors, and it really depends on your opening hand. I was playing against a law player where he opened 2 Bonnie, I opened 3 Makino. There's like nothing you can do in that situation. Like there's no like finesse that you can do. But then, for example, something like Zoro mirrors, like, it's a lot more back and forth.
It makes sense though that like if you're playing the exact same deck, whoever draws better is gonna win. Not every time.
I feel like,
but most of the time.
I feel like it's the value decks that are really sacky. Like if you could get your value engine before your opponent does, like it's just too much. Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah. That's why
it's never like, okay,
you should have
like
tech in your deck that does well into a mirror as well.
Yeah,
especially if you're a popular deck like Law.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's why I was super surprised that people stopped running. I mean, not super surprised because green, it kind of dipped out of the meta for like a little bit, but people stopped running Basil Hawkins, and I thought that was a really, really crazy shift because Basil Hawkins is like so good in the green mirror, and it'll just insta win you like most green mirror matches.
Well, people stopped seeing Basil; they saw like mostly Jet Pistol, like Zoros.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's like
that was the diversion from playing Basil.
Yeah, but now people are playing it again because they're playing Film Kid. Yeah. Film Kid carries. Oh no, sorry, Basil carries Film Kid.
Basil.
Yes. Yes.
It's needed.
Like, if you're not running 3, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, really? I played one Basil.
Film Kid. Maybe you guys can help.
Watch Will to Win Gaming. He has a thing. Subscribe to his Patreon.
It's mainly kind of a mid-range aggressive deck is what I'd call it. Like it's not like Zoro where you're swinging like turn 3. It's more like you're swinging like turn 4, turn 5. It's more mid-range.
I heard it's one of the harder decks to play as well right now because it changes on every matchup. So I'll give you what I personally think. I don't actually play the deck, but playing against it and seeing people play it. Here's how it usually goes. You want to go first almost against every matchup except for black. Okay. And then you'll play down on curve on your 3 Dawn curve. You'll play down like an Usopp or something like that. Right. And then on the next turn, you'll play down a Basil on your 5 Dawn turn, and your 7 Dawn turn, you'll go, hopefully you get Luffy into Brook, into Nami, something nuts like that. And then and then you just have kid skill and you just kind of go crazy with that, and Basil just destroys everyone's field.
So I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard people saying that Dofi beats Film Kid. Actually, is that true?
It does.
I think it's
better.
Hard.
It does pretty good. I almost beat Will. I just didn't draw 9 cost Mihawk. If I did, on curve, he would have just instant lost, right? Well, not instant. It would have been a much better game. I barely lost to him, right? By like a few counter.
I think it's that matchup, right? It's like a make or break moment.
I think the reason why is because at the end of the day, it still is like a tempo aggro deck, which Dofi tends to be better against.
Yeah,
because you get so much tempo with the leader skill. But yeah, when you don't see Dofis, or when you don't see Mihawks, it's so much harder. Because the Mihawk is so good, because then you just bottom deck their Luffy, and then their board is like not too threatening. It's like
you
a bunch of 5
their,
cards.
you bottom deck their Basil and you bottom deck their Luffy, which either ones comes first, and and
they can't cheat out the Basil too. That's the big thing. Like, because they could still cheat out like bouncing the 4-cost Zoro is like not good, because they could still cheat it out. But yeah, you can't. You have to always hard play the Basil, so it's hard.
I think it's a skill matchup outside of that, though. Outside of seeing Basil versus Mihawk, it's a skill matchup at that point.
I haven't played any film yet.
I tried to make a meta call and changing my deck to 4 Mihawk, but I had to change it back to 3. So
yeah, I was very scared of
three.
Film Kid going into like play TCG's tournament, which is I was playing Law and I ran 1 Basil Hawkins. And I played against 1 Film Kid and saw it on curve, and it was disgusting. Like, he could not play the game.
I had a lot play Basil against me too, and I was like, "Well, okay."
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe I beat him but I didn't see a Mihawk to kill it. I had to like swing into it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So
it's rough.
You have to. That's a kill on sight if you see that. But next set's gonna get easier, because then we could just bottom deck it. You know?
Yeah. That's the name of the game.
3,000 Worlds
is removal, right? Removal is the name of the game.
Yeah. So. Surprisingly, like a lot of I know we have like the term like aggro decks, tempo decks, but like honestly, at the end of the day, like a lot of games come down to if you have removal for things or not. And even to the point with Zoro, like Zoro is surprisingly like very removal based. Like, like
it is.
You could very rarely squeak by a win only with the things on your board. You have to have like perfect Dawn, Nami, Makinos, and everything to do that.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you say that, because I totally agree. Like, red that's a testament to the color, right? Red has the most removal, therefore
they have the most flexible removal too.
Flexible removal, yeah. Every deck has some sort of removal that's different. Red's is just better. Because the thing about
how much they have so many kill cards. It's insane.
And they even like run extra things to complement it, like the 1-cost Gordon, right, from the film package. Every red deck has to run 3 or 4 of those.
That's the crazy part about it. Is like black has to use an effect that doesn't create advantage to get to kill. Red uses an effect that reduces your attack. It's always
it's
right.
Like that's the problem with black that I see a lot is like reducing you have to reduce its cost, and then you have to draw into the removal. But into red, you don't necessarily have to draw into the removal. The attack reduction is the removal in some cases.
Right, and getting it in range.
That's why like
2 over. It's like okay, you want to discard 2 cards, and then I'm gonna attack it with another 5.
And then that's why I think at the highest level of play for like Law versus Dofi, you can never win as the Dofi player if they draw semi well, especially if they draw into Otamas. Because like Otama by itself is just a removal card. Like there's no when they start swinging at you with like
the problem
isn't
just Otama, it's the fact that they can pick up the Otama and
exactly.
place down a 5-cost character, and then pick up their other Otama and then play down a 3-cost character. Right?
So it's really rough. Like that matchup is absolutely abysmal.
Do you feel like against a Dofi matchup, the game is significantly harder going first or going second, or it doesn't matter?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it matters. I think it's too free.
I know Saucy's a big person of try going second against him, right?
Yeah.
To throw them off. And I kept on doing that. And this weekend, I lost a die roll. I went first and I won. And then I won the die roll. I chose to go second, and then I lost. And then so I chose to go back to it, and then I won.
Shit.
And I'm like,
don't listen to Saucy.
I think
it depends on skill and what they got unlucky. So
I also think
I don't know.
it depends on what you have in hand. Like for example, like if I had one cost Doflamingo in hand, I would probably be more prone to going. Actually, but going first with that hand is pretty good too. But going second is actually not too bad because the thing about Law is you're basically on a timer before they can start getting shambles out. And if they go first on their curve, they could get it as soon as turn 3. I think that's the trouble. But then if you end up removing things with like one cost Dofi, that might actually be like a lot harder for them to start shambling.
Well, I think it depends on making a mistake too, right? I had a game where he placed down a Perona and another 1K, right? And he used Perona, and I had my one cost Dofi. I'm like, okay, I'll swing at Perona and bottom deck the Machino, you know?
Yeah.
I think it just depends on like player skill and knowing, because I don't think he knew exactly what the card did, you know? And I'm like I think I explained it to him, and then he still played the cards out. And he's like, "Oh, maybe that wasn't. Maybe I should have just played the Dawn."
That's always the good thing about Dofi too. It's like a lot of people, they actually don't have good Dofi players at their locals.
Yeah.
So then like it's a big surprise factor when you come in and play, because the only exposure they'll have is like on the sim, which Dofi players are like, it's so difficult to play Dofi at a high level on the sim.
Yeah,
it's actually something to think about too. Oh my
It
gosh.
is. It's the top decking portion of the sim is not streamlined.
So bad.
You don't
So bad.
need to
hard.
beat the best player in the game. You just need to beat who's put in front of you, and you don't know how they got there, right?
That's one of my so I recently made a video about that, because a lot of people in my community were like, they were getting shattered because they think they're good players, and I know that they're good players too. Like not that they're not good players. They definitely are. But there's a lot more that goes into the tournament besides, like, you could be the best player in the world, get the worst matchups, and you will go like 0-3. Like there's just stuff like that.
Factor involved. I mean, there's a lot of variables, right? You're talking about a card game where you're shuffling your deck and randomizing it. There's gonna be games you just have a bad hand, or you could be paired against the wrong matchup, or you get paired against the right matchup, and that's all you play, and then you top, and then you won.
Exactly.
And you have to be the best player.
Like thinking about Kek, your matchups with like 3 Dofi players. If I played that into my hybrid Whitebeard, I probably would have had such a harder time. Like if I had any chance to top. But it's the fact that I played against Zoro players and Law players that didn't know that I was playing hybrid, and then didn't know how to play around it. Like that's what got me there. But then other people, they probably had like they could have had like a way harder tournament than I did, getting to like around the same spot. So it's a lot of that. And it's a lot of like psyching yourself out, because like we look at these tournaments that are like 1,000-person tournaments, 500-person tournaments. But at the end of the day, you just need to beat like 9 people or 10 people. And once you start thinking about it like that, it gets so much easier on your, like it lightens your load, because it's like, okay, well, I could beat 10 people.
Honestly, you just have to like play one game at a time, because that's really all
that's the biggest thing.
And
that's the biggest thing.
Definitely even going X2, X3, you know?
Yeah, take it one game.
If you just take it one game at a time, you'll be fine. And one thing I like to say, these online regionals, they make you better at locals. That's like really good practice for locals.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's just good tournament mentality, because like that's a huge thing. Like that, I think, because people are so new to TCGs in general, they don't like understand that there's a whole different game past like being a good player and playing good on the board. There's also like mental state and everything like that. Like I lost, I think, round 3 or 4. I think I lost round 4 that first tournament, and my mental was so bad. Like it was awful. But it was that one game at a time like mentality, where it's like you don't view it as like, oh, I need to win the next 6 games. Like I just need to keep winning the next game.
Next one.
And then all of a sudden you're like 7-1 and you're playing the last one.
Right.
So it's like
my thing is like, don't put so much weight into like expecting a win. You know, just play
100%.
it and like enjoy every game and like do your best to win. And like you said, like don't look forward, because you have to be in the moment in order to be in the right state of mind.
Yeah.
You know, it fucks with my head every time I'm like, oh, I gotta win this game. I'm gonna try to get all these prizes and all that.
Yeah. And On top of that, it's realize this too. It's okay to lose. There's always going to be a winner.
Oh,
and a loser.
100%.
And
yeah.
I feel like, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I've lost a lot of games. Okay, I have
Yeah.
lost a whole ton of games. That and that got me really into the mindset. It's okay to lose, you know.
Yeah.
And some people just don't have that mindset. They feel like they need results now. They don't do results now. They're not going to be able to, you know, have the
How cool
respect of
would
their
it-
friends. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's
Like,
it weighs
dude.
on your mind a lot.
like,
How cool would it be though if like the Bandai app like calculated your win?
Like a ranking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that would be awesome. Like,
Yeah,
yo, I'm
'cause
like,
me and my
that's too
friends, we
much.
keep
Now it's too
track.
much pressure. Oh no.
Yeah.
yeah, I
like,
think it'd be fun just to see,
percent
right?
locals. Like, no, but I definitely agree, and I think that's why I really am strongly an advocate of keeping the participation like a little bit more, or even like a lot more with the regionals than your
Mhm.
tournament entry, because then you're not
Mhm.
so worried about like, oh, I just wasted my like money on this tournament,
Yeah.
which is like super good. Because you learn a lot from these big tournaments. They're different beasts than
Yeah.
locals.
I
Like,
think as well, and one of my locals has been doing really well with this. I bet you at your locals they're starting to die down a little bit. One local's actually been going up, like more people have been showing
Yeah.
up, but they're doing more participation things. They have,
Yeah.
they literally are handing out custom Dawn,
That's
custom
insane.
mats,
That's
loser
sick.
Dawn, other custom Dawn. I'm like, yeah, people will be willing to travel and come to this local because
Yeah.
there's just participation things going on, and people
Actually,
don't
out
mind
here-
paying $10 entry.
Mhm.
You know,
That's true. Out here in SoCal, what stores are doing actually to generate more revenue and like traffic is they'll have like huge events like, oh, we have a case tournament,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
this weekend. And some shop will do like 3v3 tournament,
Mhm.
and then you get like a Wii U if you win, or like
Yeah.
a buddy battle tournament.
the thing is, it needs to be somewhere in the middle where if it's a case tournament, usually entry is
you.
going to be like $30 each, right? And that might deter like somebody like taking their kids to like, and that cost them $90 for all three of their kids to enter, right?
Yeah.
I don't
So
think any kids are playing One Piece.
there
I
is
haven't
at my
seen
locals.
that
There
either.
is.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Really?
I have never, because I remember Ash. He there was like a Twitter rant he had, where I think I
We'll go
saw
over
it,
that
and
too.
then it was like he was saying that like, the kids were like beating players, and I was like, I've never seen a child play this game. Like,
I don't see a lot,
seen
but
the
now
kids play
there's
this game.
more kids showing up in my locals. It's basically his father and their
Wow,
two kids
that's
are
good.
playing, and they're coming like every
that makes
week,
sense. Yeah.
right?
Maybe it's
I-
just in Cali. They're
Yeah.
like kids don't play these games. They're busy doing other things.
I think they're
Trend, you know?
mainly here. Like, I see a lot of kids usually playing Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon around
Mhm.
here. I think
I
it's
see
because they're
Claw.
not attached. They're not attached to the IP.
Mhm.
Like, One Piece is like it's kind of a difficult IP to get into when you're younger. Like,
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
I mean, it started what, in the the late 90s? That was
Yeah.
like, you know,
They don't have nostalgia for it, right?
1-year-old.
Yeah, they don't have the nostalgia.
But essentially,
Right.
like their parents might have nostalgia, and that's why this guy brings.
Yeah,
him.
that's why they get into
I got
it.
him on our Discord. We have a One Piece Utah Discord, right?
Yeah.
I got him in the Discord, and they're like, "Yeah, there's a tournament this Saturday," and they come and they're like, kind of still learning the game, you know, like.
Yeah.
They're not doing everything optimally, and they're choosing. Honestly, if we were to like sit them down, and be like, "Hey, man, you should not play Laws. Your first deck, okay, bro? Like you need to calm the hell down. Just go
Nope,
play
the
some
G-Law.
Magellan or something. You know, learn the
Yeah.
basics, right? But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're just playing there to have fun, and they're okay losing. And like,
That's awesome.
I'll go up to them and I'll hand them like these things, you know, or
Yeah.
other things. Like, hey, thanks for coming out today. I really appreciate it. Here's some
Yeah.
loser
Loser
Dawn, and they're like, oh my god, loser Dawn, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, bro,
That's
when you-
awesome, though.
So yeah, and it's really bad because a lot of my sleeves have too much culture, right? So
That's another problem, like with kids being around. Yeah.
yeah, well, you gotta like just when the kids come around, hide the culture stuff. You
Yeah,
know,
the culture.
you can hide the culture if you just flip your sleeves upside down. On your main deck, don't have too much culture, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's definitely a sweet spot between having too much
That's good.
culture and doing that. I went to one. I didn't expect it to be this many kids at a different like locals, and there was like a lot that are like 10, 11, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And I just remember they saw my sleeves, and I have them upside down. They still saw them. They're like, "Oh, what do you got those sleeves, huh? I bet you I know why you like those sleeves." Boobies.
That is
They say
so funny.
They're all like laughing, you know, because
Yeah. That is so funny.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I'll
because I think
Go ahead.
the main problem is like or like the main relic of we don't have kids playing this game is there's no kid format. Like usually with Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, you have like Dragon Duels, you have Master, you have
What?
Juniors series. Yeah,
What?
so we don't have anything like that
What do you
for
mean?
One Piece.
Like a kid format, like it's age restricted.
It's age restricted.
Tournaments,
Yeah.
or league.
Yeah,
We don't really have that in One Piece.
yeah, and
I think
Yu-Gi-Oh.
that's weird to do that.
I think
I
it's.
don't know. Is that a Bandai thing where they don't do that for their?
I don't know,
their
but I
games?
feel like when you have a big player base of kids, I feel like at some point you have to do it because
Mhm.
because then when you're forcing kids to go into the Masters tournaments,
Mhm.
you're going. I mean, they're playing against people that are like, they might make their living off of playing the game,
They have
and then
that
you
for
have
poker.
kids that are like at
Like-
school,
They have that for
Sometime,
poker,
like-
but it's only seniors. So like there's only senior events.
senior
So,
citizens. Poker.
I could
Damn.
see only seniors One Piece. Oh, get
Yeah.
ready. No, but only
At
Yeah,
the
only
yeah.
65 and up.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the kids' schedules, it's a lot different. They're going to school, and they're also like, if on average, like an adult is probably going to be better at the game than a kid. Like, so
It's good business, right? But there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that we wish about Bandai that unfortunately
That's-
has yet to
yeah.
come into fruition.
how do you
work.
guys feel about the tournament structure for Bandai? Because I actually have a lot of problems with the
Okay,
tournament structure.
We'll go to that now. I forgot to
Yeah.
segue that a long time ago. Go ahead. Lead us
Yeah,
off.
because I don't know if you've heard about the store championships coming out,
Mhm.
but it's on the championship series, and it's like, why? Because like you don't get a Nat invite for it. It's all promo cards, so it's like it's so weird that they have it on there.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah, there
before
was a
it
lot
was like,
that too in the beginning where people thought
Yeah.
they were getting Nats invites, right?
Yeah. On it says some regions may not get national invite, but
I think maybe it's for regions that don't have a lot of big tournament showings, probably. But I know for NA, we don't get Nat invites for the store championships.
Really? How do you know?
It wouldn't make
How do you know?
sense. You would have like a freaking
It's on the judge Discord.
1,000-man
Oh, okay.
tournament.
I didn't.
Yeah.
It hasn't been confirmed. I think that's good information. So if you could
Yeah.
provide that, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
'Cause we thought maybe it would.
I'll screen cap it, but
Okay,
I
that's
remember
fine.
they were having a conversation about it, and I think at one point Benny, our level 0 judge, said, "Yeah, there's no invites for
Okay.
these. There's no invites."
I'm
for
happy
these.
with that.
I think so too.
Me too.
But also, I wish that I don't know if you guys know about the Pokemon structure. I think Pokemon probably has one of the best
I-
tournament
I like
structures.
Pokemon.
It's really
what I brought
good.
up, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's issues with it. How exactly does I don't actually know it
Mm-hmm.
too well, but what I'm thinking is it's usually like a point system.
Yes.
Is that right? But like
Yeah.
you have to spend so much money to go out to tournaments, so you're kind of like forced to go out if you're gonna get into like a
The thing is though,
It's
like
travel money.
if we have like online the fact that we have online regionals
Oh.
is super good. Like, because then the way it works in Pokemon is you have, like, let's say to get your world's invite, because you actually don't need they don't have Nat invites. Like you could
Okay.
just go to nationals if you wanted to.
Okay.
They have a world's invite, so then you'll have it so like it costs like 500 points. Like you have to have 500 championship points. But then they'll have city and league challenges tournaments where you could get a majority of your points there, like 200 points or something like
Mhm.
that. And then if you top at like a couple tournaments, then you already have your world's invite.
Mhm.
I think having something like that, especially since we already have the store championships, makes so much more sense.
The thing
'Cause-
is, the main thing I'm afraid of is that people abuse that. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to give you a very, very quick example. Okay. In Vanguard, we would go and we would play, and they had, if you get a win in a store championship, right,
Mhm.
you would get a 2-round bye. Okay, into like any tournament you wanted
Interesting.
to, right? And let's say no one shows up at this local except for me and my brother, right? Then they could just, give
Yeah.
it to me, right? Whatever, right? But
Yeah.
let's say even worse. Say there's 12 people in the tournament, but only 3 people are actually going to go, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm not going to go to these national invites. I win the tournament and I say I'm going to pass down my invite to the next person,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm not a fan of it.
They just can't make it super like easy for stores to hold these events. It has to be like
Yeah, it has to
you
be
know,
during a certain period of time,
right,
I
like certain
think,
time
and
frames
also a
where you're allowed
certain
to hold it.
amount of people. Like,
Well, it also has
Yeah,
to
like
be
minimum
you have
exactly.
to also prove it, but they're not going
Yeah.
to monitor that. Bandai isn't like looking at every store's picture. Okay, there was 12 people here. They showed proof they had 12 people there. Like,
No,
you
but they
know,
Yeah.
can they could just make it as part of the rules of like purchasing from them as a supplier, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like new sets, right? There's an agreement between everybody. It's like you don't open these sets, right?
Yeah.
When you get
somebody
the
will still
release.
abuse it. Like the thing is, it
Yeah.
leaves room for abuse. But sorry
I
for
think
interrupting you
the
on that. But you were going.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about the point system though is that even if you do have that, you don't get the straight up invite from them. Like since it's capped, like even if you are farming like points, like it's only half of your invite. Like you still have to go and top at like because then I think I think the time when I was trying to get into Worlds, like you had to top 32 at least like 4 regionals or like 4 regional equivalents
Wow.
or something like that. Well, top cut for them is like 32, so it's like it's not too bad to do. But then I feel like with top 16, especially with how hard it is to get into these tournaments, like it's like so cutthroat to get a nat invite because then I'm only in one of the regionals, so there's like a lot of pressure, and then there's only one more wave after that, so it's like it's super difficult. Like or it looks super difficult to do.
I can't imagine being in that position, but I definitely felt that even in the beginning. Like, damn,
Yeah.
I really want this invite. I
Yeah.
have to top an event. But now, like so
Yeah.
late into the game, I can only imagine those people like, fuck, I only have one more chance.
Yeah, one chance. And then also it would make the treasure cups, I think, a little bit more like less about like because I feel like the regionals overall, people like them a lot more because you have that nat invite. The prizing's not as good. Like, you know, Serial Luffy's only given to like the top two.
Yeah.
But like the fact that you have the Nats invite, like a lot of people are there to compete and you have less scalpers. Like if you had that in treasure cups too, like, oh, you get like certain amount of points, like, but maybe less points than a regional, but you still get like points towards like a nat invite for like playing in a treasure cup.
No,
it might make it
I'm
more
definitely
competitive.
I'm definitely an advocate of your idea. It's a good idea, man. And it would go
Yeah.
back to like you could track like your player. That I mean that I just want more infrastructure, right?
That's true too. There's not a lot of
There's not
infrastructure
really
at
a whole
all.
lot in this game, and you can barely call the Bandai app as
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
How many stars did it have again on the Google App
So
Store?
bad.
0.
And like I feel like it's mainly pointless. The only thing it's good for is like locals like tournament organizing. But like
Yeah.
the actual ID, like there's nothing tied to it. Like
Yeah.
people
Now,
can't tell like anything about
outside
it.
of invites, right? With that, I feel the tournament itself, online and offline, could use a big improvement. And I
Yeah.
think most people would like this is a bigger top cut. And that's
Yeah.
top 64 or top 32.
32, I think.
Yeah.
Like
I think top 64 is a good top cut to start doing best of 3.
Yeah, because then you do that, you have 32 games, 64 players. It's not hard for everyone else goes home, right? And the rest of people are just there playing for whatever.
I don't
even during
know
the same day.
how happy people will be for like an additional like tournament at that like
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I mean,
It's so
if you plan
tough
to
to
win, you should probably
figure it out.
clear a whole day. You know,
Yeah.
that's just what it
But
is. There's no other way around it.
It's
Yeah.
just exhaustion, man. You
Yeah.
go through 8 rounds.
Yeah,
Because then,
This is
like
just
in
half of
a
the
9-round tournament, yeah,
especially webcam though,
You
it's not too exhausting because you're at home. Like you literally are taking breaks in between things, right?
Yeah, I think I took a nap in between
don't
one of my
have
rounds.
I don't have the capacity for that.
And
You
that
guys,
will
like-
actually differ people that aren't used to that, right? I think
Yeah.
you kind of got to get used to that, and that's why our
For sure.
seasoned tournament players, they know what to expect, and they're conditioned for long days like that, right? It's just
Yeah.
an aspect of being a card player in a big tournament. That's why it's a big tournament.
Yeah, but also that when you're in an event like that, after a certain number of rounds, it kind of takes a toll on everybody. Nobody's gonna play like as good as they were playing in like round 1 or 2 when
for
you're
sure.
like 10 rounds into it.
Some people might play better. You know?
I
like,
yeah,
There
in
is
some
a thing
cases they
about
do.
that, though, like adrenaline, right?
Yeah,
When you start winning and then you get your,
it
your
feels
heart
good.
you
pumping,
can't
you're
lose.
in your next
There's
level.
like a lot
like,
of momentum.
I remember the first time I
Yeah.
top dated a big event for Vanguard. It was like, I can't lose. This is impossible. You know, that's what it was. So
It's definitely, you definitely get a rush out of it. It's
Yeah,
like a
'cause-
high.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what that would look like, because then we have 9 rounds usually, and then like Top Cut 64 is after
all the
how many?
X2s,
All
some
X2s drop out.
Some X3s are still in
Yeah.
there.
So by like round, what would it be? Like 5, I think.
Round 5.
Would it be round 5?
So you're doing
Wait,
a 5
No, you're
round
you're
main
still
event
doing
and then
Swiss,
top
and you do
64?
Swiss until there's one undefeated, and then it's top cut, and then it's
okay.
best of 3.
That would be a long tournament.
Yeah.
You could do 8 rounds and then do that maybe with 2 undefeateds.
The bubble would
I
be
think
a
what
lot
they need
bigger
to do
though.
actually
Yeah.
is range the top cut depending
don't
on
lose.
population. If
Yeah.
you're doing a 500-man tournament, maybe do a 32, right? If it's
Mhm.
1,000, maybe it's better
Yeah.
to do a
64.
Yeah.
I think it has to be flexible, in that
Especially
way.
when they're going to be doing online 1,000. I'm not sure if they're doing online 1,000. They are doing online 1,000 people, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That doesn't have a top
Yeah,
cut.
they are.
Some people will be X and 1 and they will not get a serialized Luffy, right? Well, it's already happening. Flip. A
Yeah.
lot of them, more than
Because
half of
there's
them
so
won't get
many.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a huge
actually,
percent.
two people would have missed out on it.
But now it's
in
going to be
the
like
tournament.
10. Now it's going to be 10
Yeah.
people. It's like, that's
So
insane.
that does feel worse.
I
Yeah.
think
But I think for
everyone
the
at Top Cut
nationals
would agree
invites,
that.
yeah, like I think for the nationals invites, I'm actually really surprised that there's no top cut for online regionals, because then like that really does make it feel like there's a lot more variance, especially in best of ones. Like,
Mhm, yeah.
like what if I play because the last round that I played in Treasure Cup was against the Law player, and he bricked really hard. It was like, I think his turn was like Beige Pass,
Yeah.
and then he didn't play anything turn 2.
Yeah.
So and that's a game at 7-1. Like, so it feels so
Yeah.
bad. Like it's the last
I
game of
think
the
that's
day.
a strategy that Magic players do in their big tournaments. They play around their top cut placings against really good players, but there's like a huge top cut, right? So all they have to do is Swiss is the hardest part. Like right now, Swiss is the hardest part of this game.
Yeah.
Like getting through Swiss, other than signing up for the regional. But
Second hardest part
On both senses.
behind signing up.
yeah, did we talk about signing up for regionals in this podcast yet? I
think we did a little bit.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Which one did you get
bad.
into, Adrian?
I get into usually the ones on BCP because like I'm just sitting there refreshing. I think I'm in Carta Magica for June, and in August, and then I'm in Core for their online regional in July.
And then what about you, Saucy?
Oh, nice. I'm in Carta, so I'll see you in Carta.
Yes,
Core.
yes.
I never get into a Core
Yeah.
on my computer.
Okay.
I think it's tough as a content creator too, because like if I'm not getting into these big tournaments, like it's really hard for me to retain credibility throughout the game.
You
'Cause
almost
then, like,
need to
yeah.
offer to commentate and make a good
Yeah.
commentating, and that's
Yeah,
that's my backup strategy if I
Yeah.
don't get into. But I got into all of them, you know. I just every online events you just get in.
That's
so.
a
Yeah.
problem as a content creator, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like
because I'm trying to be, like a competitive content. Like right now,
Competitive
I'm
content creator?
focusing. Yeah, like because then like it's
let's
just-
go, let's fight, let's duke it out.
like, but it's so tough, right? And that was something I was constantly thinking about before these big tournaments. Was like I'm spewing out all of this like info,
Mhm.
like, but I don't have any sort of top. I don't have anything behind it. So like, how are you gonna believe what I'm saying is true? Like,
There
so
has
it's-
to be some credibility, but I
Yeah.
think it's mostly how you're talking and how you're giving the information is important.
yeah,
And I'm going to
Yeah.
give you an extreme example. Ashby, he actually doesn't really have any big showings. You know, he can't get into the tournament, which is hard, right? I understand
that's
that.
difficult.
Which I understand, right? That could be a thing, but he's like
and on top of that, it's like Dofi
he's won
playing Dofi.
Yeah, he's won a case tournament. and he's also won a he's gotten to 7-2 in one online event, right?
Yeah.
And then I go back to back, 7-2, right? On things like that. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not saying I'm better. It's just different, right? And I think I'm pretty in the middle. Maybe I'm not too humble, right? But he's not humble at all. And that's where the comedy comes from for me.
In any means, but it's like also you gotta remember you got into all the online events too.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Too. That's the thing.
Show you a skill expression, right? That makes it means you're a good player. But
there are people that they get in and then they consistently do well. Like Clyde TCG is like someone that consistently gets in and does well. Like Justin DeZazo, who just won Saturday. Like I think that's like his 4th Luffy or something like that.
Yeah, that is insane.
Yeah. So it's like there are players like that who just consistently do well and like consistently are competitive. But it's just like being a content creator too. Like I want to try all these decks. Like I want to take these different decks to like the tournament. It might not be best for the day or best for me, but like it's super tough. And then like I feel like if I were to not get into these events and do well in them, like I lose a little bit of credibility there, because it's like especially when it's like talking about very competitive like in-depth topics, like because the beginner stuff is always going to be like, okay, I'm just telling you what this card does, here's the interactions, but then like actual advice and in-depth stuff is like really
I also
difficult.
think it's important to always know that you're learning too, because even me, I look at content to learn a lot of the time, right?
All the time.
Even though I think I'm a good player and things like that, but I'm trying to make sure I don't lose. I hate losing this game, by the way. That's why that's why
it feels so bad.
It feels really bad. So I try
because
really
90% of the time it's your fault. Like like
I made a mistake.
You will get the games where like you brick and stuff like that, and like you're just like, or you'll get sacked by like
20% of the time, 30% of the time.
So it's like you'll get sacked. Like I got triple Punk Gibson like in a swing for game, and I was like, okay, what is the counterplay to this? Like there's no counterplay. But then a lot of the time the reason why you lose is because you did something down the line, and I think that's what I really like about this game.
That's true. I feel like this game, as simple as it looks on face value, there's a lot of skill expression.
Especially in the end game. I stress this all the time. Like you can be in control of the game, like throughout like 70%, even like 90% of it, but then like all of a sudden, like if your opponent is like really good in those end game scenarios, they could just steal the game away from you most of the time.
There's usually a turning point that happens. Right.
And then like if you don't realize that that's like a key moment, like you're going to lose. Like I had a game against a Zoro player. He just played Whitebeard. I think I needed 3 hits to land, and he started out with like 1 Dawn Open, 6 cards in hand, and in that scenario that's super tough, like to decide whether to like live or not. But I wasn't living next turn, so then like in those scenarios, like I feel like a lot of like I don't want to say like lower end players, but like a lot of players will probably, it's too scary to go for game, because like 6 cards in hand, 1 up, 2 life, like it's too difficult a call to make. But then in those scenarios, like you have to realize like there's no way I'm living like, next turn.
People don't think ahead. That's the problem. People just think in the moment, but if you just thought a second, like if I don't go for this, I'm gonna die.
I think a big thing is to look at as well, whenever you're at any point of the game in the mid game, you need to look at how many characters you have and say, if my opponent has no counter, do I have lethal? Like, do I have lethal? Because I have definitely lost games. I'm like, wait a minute, I could just sell. Do I have lethal? So now I tell myself in the middle of the game, he has 2 life, he has 1 blocker, I have this many characters on my side of the field. Do I have lethal technically? Like, do I technically have lethal? And they're like, well, maybe. Then you adjust, then you go down from there, your stages. And that's just
I saw this. Yeah, I saw this in my second round. I actually made like a huge misplay against Zoro. It was my 0 life turn as Whitebeard. I was on 7 Dawn. Oh no, I was on 8 Dawn actually. And it was my first webcam local. So like I was not attentive in those first rounds. So I attach 1 to a Nico Robin, I swing, and then I play out my ace, and I'm at 0 life with like no Dawn up, with like 12 cards in hand. And even if I could counter out of a 15k swing, which I couldn't, like if he just 15k swing, that's so many cards out of my hand, like with just straight up 2ks. But then that player was so scared of my ace on the board he just kept swinging into it, and I was able to just counter
Yeah.
and win the game. So it's like
So you
it's
threw the
things like
game,
that.
and then they re-threw the game, which
Yeah, so it's just like
that
it happens often. It happens very, very often because a lot of the time, like people are very scared of the board that you've created. They've completely forgotten about the other game, which is like I just need, like I need to kill you, like.
Right.
So it's tough.
They don't have any like plan B. It's always just
Yeah.
like plan A. They don't they almost don't gauge the different routes to,
Mhm.
you know, possibility.
Yeah, and I think the knowing your routes like is so important. Like that's
Mhm.
why I stray so far away from Strawbeard. I feel like the routes are so linear in that deck.
Super linear.
It's
Yeah,
like once
especially
you
Strawbeard.
yeah, like once you stray away from it, or once you get a player that will make you stray away from it, the game's over. There's nothing you can do about it. Like
It
there's
has, like,
not a
one
lot of
game plan.
finesse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does it well, but if your opponent knows how to divert you from your path, man, it's
Yeah.
tough. And I think that's partly why Dofi is such a hard matchup.
Mhm.
Is Dofi is really good at making you divert.
They'll divert you even unconsciously. Like they'll-
Right, like
just
it's just a
playing the
natural
leader. Yeah.
counter, right? It just
Mhm.
naturally does what
Well,
you hate the most.
Everybody has a plan until you get hit in the face, right? And
Yeah.
Dofi's
Yeah.
plan is always different depending on what they see off the top of their deck, right?
Yeah.
It'll just change. You can't
Yeah.
always have a plan against it.
I think that's what makes the deck so fun too, though. Like I could play a million green matchups, or like a million green games and a million Dofi games, and the Dofi games are always more fun because like
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
new 5-stack every single
Yeah,
game.
and yeah, there's
Yeah.
never two games are that similar.
Yeah.
Right?
Like there's an aspect almost of like randomness to the deck. It's like you
Yeah.
look at top 5 and it's like, all right, let's see what we got today. What's on the menu?
Well,
Okay.
even that when you
boom,
don't
yeah.
see a Perona early on or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's where the
Oh, yeah.
really
over.
high skill players like
Yeah,
You
you
better
have
have
to
good
go.
ratio.
You have to get
son.
real high skill, not even high ratio. Just I'm not talking about
Yeah.
blind flipping, which is a different aspect of its own, which I never recommend unless there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just the aspect of, let's say, going second. This happens quite often, right?
Yeah.
Is where you'll play like a 4 cost on your $4 turn.
Yeah, and then
you play a
go for the
3,
Dofi.
3, yeah, on the next
Yeah.
one. So
It's always tough though, because in different matchups it's worse. Because I remember I was playing against a Garp, and I had the option. Yeah, I had the option to stack early, and I didn't, and I regretted it so hard. Because then I played like a Gecko Mori on 4, they popped it, and then I went for the Dofi leader skill play, which is pretty. It's a pretty good board still, but
Yeah.
then they just pop all of
it
it.
depends on the matchup and what you have in hand, right? Like if you are facing Zoro and you have a Jinbei in hand, then yeah, it's fine. But if you're playing against decks that just remove, you actually want to get more bodies out there for free.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and you want to be
pressure their life.
and usually the decks that remove, like they don't have. It's usually just black, like Garp and stuff. So you want to start swinging at them if you
just a
can.
black
I'm not too
matchup.
worried
It's
about
like
Garp, but you know,
super-
Yeah,
Garp.
Garp's
like
pretty
a
easy.
resource
Like
battle, you
yeah.
know what I mean? But like black in general, that's how it works, right? You're
Mhm.
just getting resources with them, and in those moments, it's like so important for you to know what's on the top because you don't want to miss a single leader ability because it's just
Yeah.
a plus body every time you
Yeah.
do it.
There's actually there's this player that he beat me 2 weeks ago, but he changed his deck on online, right? And then he said last weekend he played a deck of Doflamingo where he had no Peronas, no Love Mellows. He had like 6 cards or something in the deck that aren't 7 Warlord, right? So he would blind flip, and his opponents were so tilted that he was getting the blind flip every time.
It's like just like so likely though.
But it's like 86% chance. He says it's an 86% chance. I'm like, but you want to draw the cards in between the good cards in between.
Yeah, the good cards. Yeah,
Yeah, it's less about the Doflamingo skill and drawing the card you need. Doflamingo
Makes me
skill is a
wanna
bonus.
Run that build again because it's so fun. You just
Yeah.
like swinging in with
Spin
leaders,
the
trying to
wheel.
see what you
Oh
have.
my
Your
God.
opponent's probably super tilted, like that
Yeah.
you're blind.
That'll
yeah.
definitely like the Zoro
Yeah.
players will get so mad over that.
Maybe
That
I
you don't
had-
even have to see.
I had one game. It was in top 8 at locals. He's playing Kinemon. I won. Like I went first. I went first because I beat Swiss, right? And I go to face this Kinemon player, and I had nothing to do but blind swing, and he got a Kiko out, right? And I get Jinbei into Jinbei like two turns in a row, and it was like the best feeling ever, you know. So
Yeah,
it's just
like, what are
more
you gonna
funny. Yeah. What are you gonna do? Sorry, buddy. I just high rolled you.
Yeah.
Without even seeing my one cost.
Double Jinbei. That's so gross, dude. Especially
Or like
against
Jinbei with the Robins. That's my
or like
favorite.
Law.
When
Yeah.
they like Gordon the Robin.
It's
It's my
great.
favorite.
I had a player
Oh,
that would Gordon. He Gordon my Jinbei, and he
Yeah.
KO'd my Jinbei.
And then
So
they
I
just lose the swing.
I fizzled the swing. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
why didn't you just swing into my Jinbei?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and then just kill my
That's how that
Piranha.
happened a week ago. I'm like,
Yeah. Usually that's what you would want to do too, because then you want to attack into the Jinbei and then probably KO something that's like rested or like not rested.
Or like
sorry.
our Piranha that's standing.
in
Yeah.
value, right? You're not trying to hit for life to add cards to hand. You're trying to clear the board.
Yeah. No, I had a guy at my locals. He got mad at me because I didn't let him take that back. So,
Oh yeah.
and like it
Yeah,
made
it's
really
always-
awkward. It made it
it's
really
always a
awkward.
tough-
Bottom deck to Gordon.
Yeah.
No, he used Otama.
Oh, he already used.
He used
okay.
he placed Otama, and he would have done it like way different. I'm like, sorry, man, you already swung.
It's
If it
Yeah.
was me, I would say I messed up and I learned from it,
Yeah.
and
Same.
that's it. But it
Like,
was
if you-
it was locals,
yeah.
and so it's not like we were like both X1 too at the time,
Yeah.
and so he
That's
made a big deal
too
of it.
far gone,
And I had to
in
get
my
people
opinion.
into it and be like, yeah, I can't let you take it back. And ever since then, that guy hates me.
It's such a
Play better.
that's my
Sorry.
problem with some people in the community too, and I think there's less people like that.
Yeah.
I actually like compared to like say something like Yu-Gi-Oh. Like Yu-Gi-Oh,
Mhm.
there's like a lot of people that are like that's where most of the card sharks are. I think, in my
Mhm.
opinion. So it's like
There's
but-
not a lot of things to card shark here. And it's like,
yeah, and also at the
people
end of the
just
day,
accept it.
yeah, and at the end of the day, like even if you do get card sharked, it's mostly your fault. Like you did not
Yeah.
know a ruling,
Mhm.
and then like and how are you ever like you'll probably never make that mistake again. Like it's like getting jet pistol triggered or like red hawked. Like you make that mistake and then you never make it again because of how bad it was for you.
Well, that's what separates the good players from the bad players, right?
Yeah, they just
Good
keep
players, they
Experience.
always like assess and then
Yeah.
actually like analyze and see where they made the mistake, and then a bad player would just be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this dude just sharked me. That's why I lost this game."
Yeah.
I actually like going into like a bigger tournament. I actually like losing a lot more than winning because I feel like you learn a whole lot more. Because that's how I felt playing Whitebeard. I felt like every game I lost, like I was learning a huge thing, like, and I was making like a huge mistake that I would never like. I think I played Marco like a turn early and it just got removed. I couldn't use the effect, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it! Never made that mistake ever."
You
again.
learn a
Like,
lot more by losing in this game. Actually, it's kind of, but it's a double caveat. If I lose a game, I'm generally going to be facing an easier opponent next round, which I'll probably win and learn nothing. That's
Yeah.
The
that's
thing is,
another
like,
different frustration.
When you win, you probably you know how you win, but you don't really self-reflect as much, right? You win, you move on to
it's
the
harder
next one. We're
to,
happy.
yeah.
But when you lose, like in this game,
It
hurts so bad
hurts.
to lose. You
Yeah.
have to think about like,
Mhm.
how did it happen?
Yeah.
What could I do so that it doesn't happen again?
I think that's so important too, and I tell this to a lot of people. Like even if you win, you should definitely evaluate the game still. Like what caused you to win that game or that matchup? Like was it your opponent misplaying and you capitalized on it? Were you like playing the matchup really well? Like like what like can you learn something about that
And what
matchup
could your
and take
opponent
away?
have done too? You can look at
Yeah,
that as
exactly.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe they could have done a really good play if they had it in hand, and the play you did was like not optimal.
Yeah.
Like
it's easy for
Yeah.
us to just say, "Oh, I played the best deck and I just drew Doflamingo and Mihawks,"
Mhm.
right?
yeah.
But
So it's a lot. Like and I feel like those games too are just as important because understanding why you lost, it's a lot harder to say like, "Oh, this was like a matchup specific thing, like what do I do?" Where like if you played well in the matchup and you know like you kind of analyze that, that'll help your play it like so much more
Yeah.
because then now you understand like this is how I win against these decks.
Right. Exactly.
To-
That is so true.
to
And I think
segue.
that,
Oh, go ahead.
go
Something.
ahead.
Oh, I wanted to segue into something, but you go ahead. If you wanted to
Oh, I was
continue.
just gonna say that's the cool thing about this game is the fact that, there's so much room for like skill expression. You just
Yeah.
like so much room for growth. I feel like we haven't hit that ceiling, and I question sometimes whether we'll ever will hit the ceiling because the game
Mhm.
feels a lot. There's a lot of elements of like poker in this game in that form of bluffing, and
Yeah.
even though you've mastered like the face value of the game, there's another level where it's like
Like
infinite.
there's
Yeah.
always something else like
There's something
above.
you could
Yeah.
do outside of the actual game and
Yeah.
within the rules to have an advantage to win you over time. And
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of how open-ended Bandai like made this game, where the
Yeah.
main phase is open, like infinite
Yes.
possibilities,
Yes.
you know, and
It-
it's just
Yes.
it
it
seems
changes
like
so
lazy
much.
design, but it's not.
Yeah.
It actually makes it so much better, right?
Or
So
maybe the lazy
Yeah.
design turn into something else
'Cause-
naturally, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's the one thing that I always loved about this game going into it. Like, it's not only that I love like One Piece and card games in general, it's that this is honestly, out of every game I've played, this is the best card game I've played. And I could definitively say that.
I
Like,
agree.
it is like in terms
agree.
of like skill expression and everything,
Mhm.
like turn after turn, because like I feel like in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, you have a very linear line of play, and that usually that linear line of play isn't really, you don't really stray off of that unless your opponent has something that prevents you from doing that.
mhm.
But then like in One Piece, you might not have a linear line of play every single turn depending on the deck you
Right.
play. And then like also depending on what your opponent does, like there's just so many decisions you have to make. Like, oh, should I counter this? Should I, should I let this go? Like what will that look
Right.
like in a turn or
Where do I
two?
use my Dawn? Like, what is he holding in his hand? There's so many things to
It's
think
so
about.
many. And then like
Mhm.
there's like and then like something that I learned too was like once I found out, or like once I think it was Uni that made the magic numbers video that like completely changed
Yeah.
the game.
ODX,
Like
so.
yeah. And then at the time I was like prioritizing always swinging magic numbers. And then
Mhm.
I realized that like when I watched like a lot of the big JP like tournaments, they don't swing magic numbers like in the first like few turns. They like even if they have like a Dawn efficient magic number to swing for, they won't do it. They'll just curve out in another way. And it's to get cards out of your hand so that the magic
Yeah.
numbers later they stick
Mhm.
and they matter a lot more. So it's like, so it's things like that where it's like, choosing, I could get this thing off board right now,
Mhm.
but then my opponent has more cards in their hand that might they might refill.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you want them to use their, like we were talking about earlier, you want them to use their events now so they don't use them later, right?
Yeah. So
And
it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
because I feel like when you have a lot of cards in, there's like so much psychological stuff. Like when you have a lot of cards in hand, you're like, okay, well, I'll let this counter, I'll counter this, counter that, and then all of a sudden you only have like 2 or 3 cards in hand, and you're like, where did the game
And then,
go?
and then your opponent knows what's going to happen because you only have
Yeah.
such a limited card pool.
Exactly.
That's why things like
Yeah.
Ivankov I think are strange because like, well, if you only have 2 cards in hand, I know what my play is now. I'm gonna
Yeah, that's the one. Like,
this is gonna
I
die.
love playing Ivankov. Like
Me
it's so
too,
much
dude.
value.
Really
But then
fun.
like at the end of the game, like when you have 2 cards in hand, it's like how you
There's
can't
not a lot
really
of poker
survive.
with Ivankov when you think about it. There's not a lot
It's
of
an honest deck. Like I think
Gotta
I think
preserve
Ivankov
life
is
as long as possible, so that late
Yeah.
game you have a meat shield of
I
5
think
life and win that.
I it might be a wrong opinion, but I do think Ivankov is probably the most honest deck that we have in format, because like it plays its turn, like exactly what it's gonna do. It's going to
is.
summon Luffy's. It's
Mhm.
gonna do this on curve, and then like you also know that like you're gonna have 2 cards in hand. Maybe they have events, maybe they don't, but it's like such an honest deck. Like just swing 9K or
Honestly,
something.
playing Ivankov has humbled me in a way because I thought at face value it was such a simple deck, but it's actually one of the hardest
Very
decks
complex.
I've
Yeah.
ever had to play, because
Yeah.
you're not only just dealing with top 5 like Dofi, you're not just dealing with your hand like every other deck. You're stacking your deck.
Yeah.
As you
And
play through,
you're drawing
you're
into those cards.
100% gonna go full circle. And if
Yeah.
you're a good player, you should know what's coming like
Yeah.
as you go up. And then the other part of it is like you have to figure out how the route to victory when you have a shit hand, because it's gonna happen a
Mhm.
lot with that
It's gonna
deck as
happen.
well.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable to play, but also like super stressful.
Yeah, and a big part of that too is like I remember because when people are starting out playing Ivankov, like you might be a little bit scared to like discard a semi okay hand, but sometimes you need to do it because like
Yeah.
the semi okay hand is not like since you're such an honest deck, like it's not going to get you there, and then like you're just going to end up like getting swung at, like you don't have any counter in hand. It's sometimes it's better to just like get rid of and ditch everything early. Like it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a lot of skill expression.
I enjoy it. Have you played any Ivankov?
No.
Not yet.
That deck is crazy.
Recommend. You'll like it. It's fun, but it's also
a fun
I
deck.
almost picked it up one time because some guy beat me so hard with it online.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this thing is cracked. I could not play anything. But
I
then
feel like-
someone at locals
yeah.
just fails with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not touching that deck. So
Yeah.
I
I
would
feel
never
like
compete with that deck though.
it's hard. It's really scary, right? Like,
Mhm.
but I feel like the surprise factor in this game too is something that I really really like. Like you playing a deck that's not Zoro or like Whitebeard, even playing like something like Hybrid back like 2 weeks ago, it really really throws off your opponent, and sometimes it could just win you games. Like I was playing against Law, and then his turn 2, since I played Nami out, he swung me for like 8k, and that basically wastes your turn because then he swung me for 8k, and then I triggered Moby, and he was like, "Oh no!" Yeah, he was like, "Oh no!" Like because you basically wasted an entire
What have
turn.
I done?
Yeah, so it's just like and then there's just stuff like that. It's a lot of like you don't necessarily know what your opponent's gonna play, and every card is at least like almost competitively viable. There's like a lot of options that you could run.
A lot of times the game feels more like you're playing more like a board game, like chess or like checkers.
Yeah.
than, like
Especially
any
in
other
those
traditional
end
card
games.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting, man. But that's the part that's the most fulfilling as well. Like
Yeah.
getting good and seeing yourself grow in that manner is like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. And there are decks that like that's why I love this game. Like there are decks that they will help you like with your fundamentals throughout the mid game, and like with Kinemon, like it'll teach you how to like control the board. Like Black will teach you a lot about card management. Like and then like things like Whitebeard, they'll teach you about endgame. Like all these different decks are good at really different things. So you get a lot out of it.
Yeah. I did want to segue this too into something you were talking about earlier. Is this community, right?
Oh,
and how positive One Piece community really is. I don't know what you said. You came from like Yu-Gi-Oh and things like that, but yeah, people are very positive online. The only time when they're negative is when there's online signups and everyone's on watch, right?
Oh my God.
Which is it gets pretty bad. Where I'm making memes
People
of it now.
just sell the collection, like
whenever signups come up, the TCG prices drop. Like if you ever look on TCG Player, like
if anyone was doing a market watch, or like if there was any time to get into the game, it's when BCP is being used to register.
So you guys are saying that the prices of cards go down when the signups occur.
Yeah,
100%.
A lot of people quit. Like a lot of people just quit.
Really?
Yeah, I
could completely understand that. Like it's tough.
I have friends that they're not even really that interested in online, but they quit because they're mad about this. You know, it's like they're mad about something they don't really care about.
Yeah,
that is something that Bandai needs to like listen to, because Bandai, this is affecting your sales.
Yeah,
you might want to fix your infrastructure. You know,
I think it's good.
Your game.
Yeah, I think it's a good step
at this point. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the availability in general
play
too.
a role in it as well, right?
Yeah.
Like what we talked about earlier. They could create infrastructure, but instead they're allowing other outside forces to do it for them, and it's never like fully optimized.
I mean, it makes sense financially, you know.
I think
they make money. We make
the
money.
only hope that I have is like this game keeps growing and growing to the point where like Bandai will have to do something about it, and they'll see the value in like actually organizing their own stuff. Because
I mean, aren't we the largest Discord server now of all the Bandai?
Oh, I did not know that.
It's the largest Bandai game. It isn't.
Yeah.
Like
like BSS and Digimon, they're not as big.
They're not as big anymore.
Server is the largest. I think they have like 20,000. They just posted something about it recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. This game is booming.
Because like the community is so good, and I don't know if that's. I don't necessarily know what that is, honestly. I don't know if it's because of the way the game's structured.
Combination.
Yeah, or like if it's just the IP. Like a lot of people just love.
Well, let's go into it. Competitive card players like it for financial reasons because they can play well and
super
get paid,
good pricing,
essentially.
Yeah,
right.
Insane.
Casual players kind of like it, right? They can't being casual competitive might be hard right now because of the way signups are, right?
Yeah.
Some of it might be like the hard thing, right? And then collectors
Yeah.
collectors love
this
this game.
game. They love playing the game. They love the cards. And then that's a
really good point,
huge
though.
market, which
Yeah.
they all the competitive player and that they kind of go together, right?
The cool thing is like there's an incentive for every kind of player in this game. I think that's what you're trying to say. It's like there's an entry point for everyone, whether you like the anime or you like to compete in card games or you just like to collect. There's something to do with every kind of player.
And if you're a card shop owner out there and you're having a hard time getting people in or getting people to stay, have an event, and after that, every local you have some sort of promo, even if it's not One Piece related, right? Just something to have them keep coming, or even if it's One Piece related but not like official Bandai, right?
Oh yeah.
And people are okay paying an extra price, right?
They're giving away a free mat that they like custom made every tournament that they do. They just give away like a free mat, and every month they like change their mats, and they only give these mats away in tournaments. And every tournament they do, they always have like 30 plus people.
Do you think that's like a small thing that happened? Well, it's like a snowball effect. Right? Someone shows up because of that, and then someone else shows up because there's a lot of people there.
Because then also like they tell their friends, and word spreads around.
Exactly, and it's pretty cool, man. That's one of the things I love most about this game is the community. It's like,
I think the it's just perfectly lined up in every scenario. Like the gameplay is fun, it's rewarding. You rarely feel like you get sacked in a game. Like I very rarely feel like I'm like, oh, I lost that because like
bad luck. I didn't draw.
Yeah. So
I was trying to hold it in because I just remember all the times I got sacked.
Yeah, like or like because I think about it in Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's just like there are so many areas where it feels like I play the game. You draw something that lets me not play the game, and it's like, okay, well that's the end. Like I lose right there.
Next, let's go next.
Yeah, and there's no interaction there, and then you side deck, and it's like, okay, well now I'm gonna put in the cards that don't let you play the game. So it's like,
oh my god,
like,
I hope this game doesn't have a sideboard ever. Like,
yes, I hope they have an extra deck. That would be fun. Having an extra deck.
I don't like it because then I would just play cards that don't let my opponent play. Like
sideboarding is
not a sideboard, an extra deck.
Yeah, like
a sideboard.
Like you get to. I really like the idea of cards transforming into other cards. Like someone was saying that it would be cool if like a Brook leader was a thing, and then like once you got hit at 0 life, like it was like a double-sided leader, and then you flip it over.
Like
it's like skeleton Brook now. Yeah, like so that like I really like that idea.
That would be fun. Or like
they're doing a lot of gimmicks with the leaders, and I think it's awesome that they're doing it. Like, have you guys seen the new structure decks? For
those looked really strange,
really crazy.
They look fun,
but I think most people look at it from a competitive side. Oh, Luffy only has 3 life.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's weird, man. It's so weird.
I like that they're doing it, and it's fun because like from a card design standpoint too, they're actually really, really good at keeping to like what the characters do in lore. Like it's really, really fun.
Now they are. Right?
Yeah,
at the beginning of the game,
for an OP1, it was
so
a little
much
rough.
Dude, I don't know what it is, but do you feel like Ivankov just literally is like completely countered by purple Impel Down, and that is like complete thief, right?
Yeah, you have to draw into
when you Ivankov and you go against Magellan, it's like, bro, how do I beat Magellan? This is like impossible.
I think a lot of people have that realization. Actually, it's really funny. I think people on Twitter were like, dude, I'm like a competitive player, but I played against Magellan. I had no idea what to do, and I lost. I don't even know how they didn't even know how they lost. They're like,
I think the main thing is like it just gets you off your curve, and then if you're not ready for it, you're like, well, shit. Now I have to come up with a
great build
game
with
plan.
Magellan with that, and I think Thunder Bagua is like a big card in it, right?
Yeah,
because you go down to 2 life and you immediately ramp up to 10. I had a game against a smoker. I was at 10 Dawn. He was at 5, right?
Yeah,
because he killed one of my Magellans. Like on purpose, like right as it got out there, like he KO'd it with like a Sakazuki. And
like it's tough. Like if it's your first time, And
I
then
don't
like
think it was his
gets
first time.
better and
He
op-
plays it. He plays
Oh.
purple. He plays Magellan.
Oh my god.
He just
That's
chose
so
to
funny.
do that, and I was like,
Yeah,
I
because you
guess I'll-
usually wait until like
Yeah.
10.
I
you're
guess
at
I'll
10
just
or
play
something.
the game now. That's what I said.
Yeah, because
Enjoy.
purple gets even more annoying in set 3 because they get the minimum rhinoceros.
Mhm.
Because that's Magellan's whole thing is like I'm gonna create a board
Mhm.
where like you feel awful about like KOing my
I guess
characters.
I'll have
Yeah,
I'll have a
right.
Magellan deck still built in that set.
Yeah.
but yeah.
Plus they
I-
get banished too next set.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's a lot. I think it might be a cool contender. I might play around with it.
Mhm. Well,
Probably not for the regional.
My
but
only problem with this game, right? And it is removal, right? They make cool cards that come out. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna base my whole deck around this card,
and then
it
gets
just gets
removed.
jet pistol, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, I guess I'm just gonna play the game and come back to reality world. And that happened with me with Guild Tesoro. Guild Tesoro came out in that
Oh,
trial deck.
such a cool card.
And I'm like, dude, this is broken. I'm just gonna draw
Yeah.
2 every turn. I don't care what it is. I'm gonna get this out. I built around this playing Kaido, and my brother
Yeah.
just was playing Law Jet Pistol, and I'm like, you know what?
That's it.
I feel like I'm just gonna play the game again. I'm just gonna go back to the game and realize
Yeah.
this game is about removal. And
I think only
yeah.
one card has ever been able to pull that off, and that's the 8-drop kid. No other
Oh, yeah.
single card can be ran. You can build a deck around and
Yeah,
with
and
The
it's
whole
still
format
seeing
was
a
built
lot of
around that
success.
you
Yeah,
know,
and it's
all of
still
PO1.
seeing so much success. Like a good, because I feel like people they stray away from Kid because it's a heavy fundamentals deck. Like every single swing, every single trade is like
Mhm.
a heavy decision, and like it'll affect your next oncoming turn.
The thing is,
Yeah.
it does get beat
How about card
by
economy?
if you have different removal for it, right? Like Jet
Yeah,
Pistol,
yeah.
Automa Jet Pistol actually just removes it, which ends up solving your big issue, right?
Yeah, and it's
And-
searchable too, like with the Dawn, so it's pretty crazy. But then I feel like good Kid players, they get you to a point where you don't have a lot of cards in hand, and it's just like if you Otama Jet Pistol, it's usually like your
Yeah.
only
I'm-
like you usually
I'm
only
just
have like
not
2 more
sure
cards.
how fun
Right.
playing Stonewall Kid is.
It's hard. It's a slog for sure.
Mhm.
And like I remember like Alan, I was, because of course like he's my boy, so I'm like watching him on the tables, and he was always going into time. Every round was
Mhm.
going
Plays
into
good.
time. Yeah, so it's like and that's so much thinking, and I feel like that's part of it too, because then like the longer you go against like the 8-cost Kid, the longer it's like mentally taxing onto
Yeah.
you.
No, that's
So it's like-
definitely a factor. Like
Yeah.
in huge events, playing a deck that is just
Mhm.
too big brain for your own good.
Well,
By the
I'm
time
sure
you get through that tournament, your brain is
a lot of
just fried.
players
Yeah.
do play decks because they're fast, because they just want to go do something in between rounds. I have a guy, he has to go smoke between every round, and that's his incentive, So
That's a huge
funny.
factor to it too, because I was playing Whitebeard, and then there were a lot of these jokes like, "Oh yeah, like lunch is when the tournament's over," but I didn't feel like that at all. Like I was like, every round was like 10 minutes, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go eat, or I'm gonna go grab
Just chill.
water.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I think for one of them, it was like over in like literally 6 minutes. Like
Oh my god!
it was such a fast game.
Did he scoop or what?
No,
It was a log game, and he couldn't stick anything on board, so like he just took life, and then like I got into Moby range, and it was just like, okay, you can't counter out of this anymore. So then like I had 30 minutes, and like I took like a small nap. Like I set like an
Oh
alarm
my
for 15,
God.
and I took like a nap in between
I think I'm
rounds.
gonna hang up a little bit.
You take the biggest risks ever, dude. Going to take a
Yeah,
nap between games.
going honestly.
I
was
don't have.
so
I
tired.
don't have. Oh, I can take a nap before I go to this round. Sleeps in for the tournament.
yeah, it's like
That
done.
never happens with Dofi, man. I wish I had.
Yeah, so much.
more
It's such a
games like
grind
that.
sesh. Yeah.
It's a grind.
It
every
can be.
time.
I play my deck kind of fast, but
You do?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying like, but Dofi kind of naturally like wants to clear board and then
Yeah.
go for health, right? You're never really pushing health. Like
yeah, maybe not
super
the first
aggro.
attack or two, but yeah.
Yeah, like you want to like slowly chip away at their board while building yours,
Yeah.
and then
You want to
The
eat
game
their hand up.
actually goes on to like further turns, but the fact that you move fast, that I think that's a huge factor of why you get things done so quick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is sometimes moving fast, that almost your opponent will all of a sudden move fast as well. They have that inkling
Yeah.
need. I don't know if you've ever felt that, where opponents playing
Yeah,
really
I
fast, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait, why
They'll try to keep
why
up
am
with
I
you.
playing so fast? I mean,
Yeah.
there's only one thing for me to do. I played a Kinemon player, and we were both just playing like lightning speed, and I was like, in the middle of the game, like, why am I
those
playing
are the
so fast?
funniest games. Those are where they actually feel like chess. Like I feel like a lot of matchups sometimes feel like that, especially with like Whitebeard. I'm like, okay, take, play Atmos, take. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's like this has already been played out like so many times in my head.
It's one
Or
of
like
those things that naturally happen as you progress through like a meta. Like near the
Yeah.
end when it's solved, it's like, all right, we know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, you
Turn
know
one, drop
lines,
body,
you know
turn
what you should
two,
counter and what you
or whatever.
shouldn't. Yeah.
Well, is there
Yeah.
anything else like topic wise you guys want to talk about while
I
we're
think-
here? This has been a little over 3 hours. I'm fine talking
we're
all
good.
day, but
That's some good
I
stuff,
think so
bro.
too.
I'm sure it doesn't even
Yeah.
feel like 3 hours for you guys. It just feels like a nice
Yeah.
little conversation.
Well, I
Yeah.
got a long drive after this one, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
finish your stream with Will to Win on the road.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Mm.
And then let's just do shout outs real quick. Saucy, do you have any, like, where can we find your content?
Yeah, you guys can check me out on my main channel on YouTube. All my other platforms are on the YouTube page as well. So that's at Saucy Play.
And Ping.
Yeah.
Mine's
Adrian.
that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, you could find me mainly on YouTube, Peng Pirates TCG, and I think also on Twitter is mainly where I am. But yeah, those two socials like are mainly where you'll find me, communicate with me too.
And then for me, again, I'm KEKFILA. If you guys are already here, you probably already follow. But if you're not, go to Twitter. I have a Twitter now. I tweet memes. And just it's at KEKFILA, or just follow my YouTube.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate you coming on here again. Make sure you know,
Yeah.
give us
Thanks
a
for having
shout
me.
on your
For
channel too.
coming,
That'd be
Oh,
cool.
100%, 100%.
I'm sure
That was
people
a
here
good
locals would love to hear
conversation,
you
bro.
talk for a few hours. So
Yeah, dude, you're like super insightful, man. We definitely should
Thank you,
do it
you.
again.
Yeah, I'd be so down anytime.
oh yeah, we should. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, everybody. Thanks for so much for listening. See you in the next one. Ciao.